Every day, the way you think, speak, and influence others determines the opportunities you get, the relationships you build, and the success you achieve. Yet most people never stop to develop these skills in a practical way, leaving their potential untapped. This audiobook is different. It gives you clear, step-by-step guidance to sharpen your thinking, express yourself confidently, and influence others ethically and effectively. You will learn how to take control of your thoughts so they work for you instead of against you. You will discover how to speak with authority and clarity so people listen and remember your words. You will see how small habits and consistent practice can build emotional strength, persuasive skills, and lasting influence over time. We will explore practical exercises that you can do every day, from crafting short, powerful speeches to framing ideas so others naturally respond and take action. You'll also learn how to listen actively, handle conflict calmly, and make decisions that earn respect and trust. Every chapter gives you tools that are easy to apply even in busy, real-life situations. By the end, you won't just understand what it takes to influence and communicate effectively. You'll have a clear path to build these skills in your own life. You'll feel more confident, focused, and capable of guiding conversations, inspiring action, and leaving a positive impact wherever you go. If you want to start thinking sharper, speaking stronger, and influencing others with purpose, stay with me. By the time you finish this audiobook, you'll have a practical system to transform the way you interact with the world. Step by step, day by day. Chapter 1. Master clear thinking through daily focused questions and reflection. Clear thinking is the quiet force behind every strong decision, strong word, and lasting influence a person ever develops, and yet most people move through their days reacting, instead of thinking, responding, instead of choosing, and carrying mental noise that clouds judgment and weakens confidence. This chapter is about slowing that chaos and training the mind to think clearly through daily focused questions and honest reflection, not as reflection. An abstract idea, but as a practical discipline that reshapes how you live, speak, and lead every single day. Clear thinking does not mean having all the answers. It means knowing how to ask the right questions at the right time and having the courage to face the answers without excuses. Most confusion in life does not come from lack of intelligence, but from lack of clarity. People often feel stuck, overwhelmed, or unsure because they are thinking about too many things at once. Without direction, the mind becomes scattered, and when the mind is scattered, speech loses strength, decisions lose power, and influence fades before it begins. The Stoic philosophers understood this deeply. They believed that the quality of your life depends on the quality of your judgments, and judgments are shaped by how you think, not by what happens to you. Events are neutral. It is your interpretation that gives them weight. This is why mastering clear thinking is not optional. It is foundational if you want to speak with confidence, influence others ethically, and live with steady discipline. You must first train your mind to see clearly. Clear thinking begins with awareness of mental habits. Many people believe their thoughts are facts, but thoughts are simply impressions formed by past experiences, fears, expectations, and emotions. When you accept every thought as truth, you surrender control of your life. The disciplined thinker pauses, examines, and chooses what deserves attention. This pause is the beginning of freedom. Daily focused questions create this pause. They interrupt automatic thinking and replace it with intentional thinking. Instead of allowing the mind to wander through worry, regret, or fantasy, you guide it toward clarity and purpose. The right questions do not complicate life, they simplify it. They cut through noise and reveal what actually matters. A focused question is simple, direct, and honest. It does not ask why life is unfair or why others behave badly. It asks what is within your control and what action you can take. Now, this shift changes everything because it moves attention away from blame and toward responsibility, which is the source of personal power. Begin each day by grounding the mind before the world demands your attention. This does not require hours of meditation or silence. It requires a few minutes of intentional reflection before distractions take over. Sit still, breathe slowly, and ask one clear question, such as, what deserves my energy today? This question forces the mind to prioritize instead of react. Another powerful question is, what would progress look like today? Not perfection, not comfort, but progress. This trains the mind to value movement over avoidance. Asking these questions daily builds a habit of clarity. Over time, you stop waking up mentally rushed and start waking up mentally prepared. Your actions become deliberate instead of impulsive, and your words begin to reflect certainty rather than confusion. People sense this difference immediately. Because clarity has a presence, it is felt before it is explained. Throughout the day, use questions to reset your thinking. When emotions rise, ask, what am I actually responding to the event or my interpretation of it? This separates facts from assumptions and prevents emotional reactions from taking control. Another grounding question is, what outcome am I trying to create right now? This is especially powerful in conversations. It keeps speech aligned with purpose instead of ego. Reflection at the end of the day completes the cycle. Clear thinking is strengthened not only by asking questions, but by reviewing answers honestly without self-punishment. Reflection is not about judging yourself harshly. It is about learning accurately. Ask, what went well today and why? This reinforces effective thinking patterns. Then ask, what could have been handled better and what will I do differently next time? This transforms mistakes into instruction rather than shame. Many people avoid reflection because they fear facing their shortcomings, but avoiding reflection only guarantees repetition. The Stoic approach teaches that discomfort is temporary, but ignorance lasts longer. When you reflect calmly, you reclaim control over your growth. You stop being a passive participant in your life and become an active student of your own behavior. Clear thinking also requires reducing mental clutter. This means learning to say no to unnecessary inputs. Constant news, endless opinions, and digital noise weaken focus and increase anxiety. Discipline your information intake. Choose a few reliable sources and ignore the rest. Protect your mental space the same way you would protect your physical health. What you consume shapes how you think. Writing is a powerful tool for clear thinking because it forces vague thoughts into precise words. When thoughts remain unspoken, they feel larger and more confusing than they are when written. They become manageable. Each day, write answers to your focused questions without editing or performing. Honesty matters more than style. Over time, patterns emerge and awareness deepens. Another practice that sharpens thinking is separating what you can control from what you cannot. This is a core Stoic principle and a daily mental exercise when faced with stress. Ask, is this within my control? If the answer is no, release the need to manage it. If the answer is yes, focus on the next small action. Clarity thrives on action, not rumination. Clear thinking also improves speech. Because words follow thoughts. When thinking is scattered, speech becomes defensive, rushed, or unclear. When thinking is ordered, speech becomes calm, direct, and persuasive. People trust speakers who sound certain, not loud. Certainty comes from knowing what you think and why you think it. Before important conversations, pause and ask, what is my main point and what do I want the other person to understand? This prevents over-explaining and emotional detours. It also helps you listen better because you are not mentally rehearsing everything you want to say. Clarity reduces the need to dominate conversations and increases the ability to influence them. Emotional clarity is another layer of clear thinking. Emotions themselves are not the enemy. Unexamined emotions are when you feel anger, fear, or frustration. Do not suppress them, observe them. Ask what triggered this feeling and what belief is driving it. Often emotions point to unmet expectations or perceived threats. Understanding them restores balance and prevent impulsive reactions. Stoic discipline teaches that feelings are signals, not commands. You acknowledge them without obeying them. This distinction allows you to act according to values rather than moods. Over time, this creates emotional resilience because you are no longer controlled by temporary states. Clear thinking also improves decision making. Many people delay decisions because they seek certainty, which rarely exists. Instead, train yourself to make informed decisions based on available information and values. Ask, what is the best option given what I know? Now then, commit. Hesitation drains energy. Clarity restores it. Even imperfect action guided by clear thinking produces better results than endless analysis. Daily focused questions also strengthen self-trust. When you consistently ask, reflect, and act, you build evidence that you can rely on yourself. Confidence grows not from positive thinking, but from kept commitments and thoughtful choices. This inner trust is the foundation of influence. Others follow those who appear grounded, consistent, and self-directed. Over time, clear thinking becomes a default state Rather than an effort, you begin to notice when thoughts drift toward worry or distraction, and gently redirect them. Conversations become more purposeful. Work becomes more efficient, and life feels less chaotic, not because problems disappear, but because your response to them improves. This practice also deepens character. Clear thinking aligns actions with principles, instead of impulses. When you reflect daily on whether your actions matched your values, integrity strengthens and inner conflict decreases. Peace comes from self-alignment, not from external approval. There will be days when clarity feels difficult, stress, fatigue, and emotion can cloud judgment. During these times, simplify, return to basic questions. What matters now? What is one constructive action I can take? Clarity often returns through movement, not overthinking. It is important to remain patient with this practice. Thinking habits formed over years do not change overnight. Consistency matters more than intensity. A few minutes of focused questioning every day compounds into profound transformation over time. Clear thinking is not about becoming detached or cold. It is about becoming deliberate and grounded. It allows you to care deeply without being consumed, to speak confidently without arrogance, and to influence ethically without manipulation. As you continue this journey, you may notice a subtle shift. People begin to listen more closely to your words. Conversations feel less draining. Decisions feel less heavy. This is the quiet power of a clear mind at work. At the end of each day, return to reflection. Sit with your thoughts without distraction. Acknowledge effort, progress, and learning. Remind yourself that growth is a process, not a performance. Each day you practice clear thinking, you strengthen the foundation for everything that follows: confident speech, ethical influence, and disciplined action. This chapter sets the standard for the rest of the journey. Without clear thinking, techniques for speaking or influencing become shallow tools. With it, they become expressions of character and intention. Master this discipline and you master the doorway to self-command and lasting impact. Clear thinking is not a talent reserved for a few. It is a skill available to anyone willing to slow down, ask better questions, and reflect honestly. Commit to this practice daily, and the way you think, speak, and live will steadily transform, not through force, but through clarity, consistency, and quiet strength. Chapter 2. Build confident speaking by practicing short, powerful speeches every day. Confident speaking is not a gift given to a few chosen people. It is a trained behavior built through repetition, awareness, and disciplined practice. Most people believe confidence appears first and then speech improves, but in reality, the opposite is true. Confidence is a result, not a requirement. When you speak regularly with intention, your mind and body learn that you can handle expression and influence without fear. This chapter focuses on building that confidence through daily, short, powerful speeches that train clarity, calmness, and presence over time. Many people struggle with speaking because they associate it with judgment, embarrassment, or failure. These fears are learned responses, not truths. The body reacts before the mind has time to reason, which is why the voice tightens, breath shortens, and thoughts scatter. The solution is not to eliminate fear, but to normalize speaking until the nervous system stops interpreting it as a threat. Read short, daily speeches accomplish this by exposing you to expression in a controlled, repeatable way. Short speeches remove pressure. When a task feels manageable, resistance decreases. Committing to 1 or 2 minutes of focused speaking each day is realistic and sustainable. This practice builds familiarity with your own voice and trains your brain to organize thoughts quickly. Without overthinking, the goal is not perfection, the goal is progress and presence. Begin by choosing one clear idea to speak about, something simple and real, such as a lesson learned, a belief you hold, or a decision you are considering. Stand or sit upright, breathe slowly, and speak aloud as if addressing one attentive listener. Avoid rushing, allow pauses to exist. Silence is not failure. Silence is control. Focus on clarity rather than performance. Speak in complete thoughts, not fragments. Let each sentence finish before moving to the next. This trains your mind to think sequentially and reduces filler words. Over time, your speech becomes cleaner and more deliberate, not because you memorized lines, but because your thinking improved. Tone matters as much as words. Practice speaking at a calm, steady pace, louder than a whisper, but softer than shouting. Adjust until your voice feels grounded. When your tone is steady, your body relaxes and when the body relaxes, the mind follows this feedback loop, builds confidence naturally. Another essential part of confident speaking is learning to trust your message. Many people doubt the value of what they have to say. This doubt weakens delivery. Remind yourself that speaking is an act of sharing, not proving. Your goal is not to impress, but to express. Speak to be understood, not to be approved. Record some of your daily speeches and listen back, not to criticize, but to observe. Notice where your voice sounds strong and where it hesitates. Awareness leads to improvement. Without self-judgment, confident speakers are not those who never stumble, but those who recover without panic. Structure gives strength. Even in short speeches, begin with a clear point, expand briefly, and close with a conclusion. This simple flow trains your brain to organize ideas under time limits, which is essential in real conversations and professional settings. Clarity under constraint is a powerful skill. Practice speaking when you do not feel ready. Waiting for readiness delays growth. Choose consistency over comfort. Speak even on days when energy feels low. Discipline matters more than mood. This trains reliability, which is the foundation of confidence. As days pass, you may notice reduced anxiety before speaking because your body recognizes the pattern. Repetition rewires response. Speaking becomes familiar rather than threatening, and confidence emerges quietly without forced positivity. Apply this practice to everyday life. Speak clearly when ordering food, expressing opinions, or asking questions. Do not rush or apologize unnecessarily. Stand by your words. Calm assertion builds respect and self-trust. Confident speaking also improves listening. When you are not preoccupied with fear, you can fully engage with others. This creates balanced conversations where influence flows naturally rather than being forced. This daily practice strengthens identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who speaks with intention and clarity. Identity shapes behavior, and behavior reinforces identity. This cycle accelerates growth. There will be moments of discomfort and imperfection. Accept them. They are evidence of practice, not failure. Stoic discipline teaches acceptance of effort without attachment to outcome. Focus on what you control: preparation, tone, and consistency. Over time, your voice becomes an extension of your thinking. Steady, clear, and grounded people respond not just to words, but to the calm certainty behind them. This is influence without aggression, authority without dominance. End each day by acknowledging your effort. One short speech completed is a victory compounded daily. It reshapes how you show up in the world. Confident speaking is built one honest sentence at a time through practice, patience, and presence. Commit to this discipline, and speaking will no longer feel like a test. It will feel like a tool, a way to express truth, connect with others, and lead yourself forward with clarity and quiet strength. Chapter 3. Cultivate emotional resilience with small, steady challenges and reflection. Emotional resilience is the ability to remain steady when life applies pressure and to recover quickly when things do not go as planned. It is not about being unfeeling or pretending everything is fine. It is about staying grounded, choosing your response, and continuing forward without losing yourself. Many people believe resilience is built through major hardships alone, but in truth it is shaped mainly through small, steady challenges and honest reflection practiced consistently over time. Life will always present discomfort, delays, rejection, criticism, and uncertainty. Waiting for perfect conditions before strengthening yourself is a mistake. Resilience grows through exposure, not avoidance. Small challenges act like training for the nervous system. They teach your mind and body that discomfort is survivable and temporary. This lesson, repeated daily, reduces fear and increases confidence in your ability to endure and adapt. Small challenges should be intentional, manageable, and slightly uncomfortable, not overwhelming. Examples include speaking up when silence feels easier, completing a difficult task without distraction, maintaining composure during minor conflict, or sticking to a routine when motivation drops. These moments may seem insignificant, but they build emotional muscle. When practiced consistently, the Stoic approach emphasizes voluntary discomfort as a tool for strength. Choosing to face minor difficulties prepares you for larger ones. When you avoid every form of discomfort, you weaken your tolerance and become reactive when pressure arises. Choosing small challenges restores agency and reduces dependence on comfort. When engaging with a challenge, pay attention to your internal response. Notice Tension thoughts, urges to escape or justify avoidance. Do not judge these reactions, observe them calmly. This awareness creates distance between stimulus and response, which is the core of emotional resilience. You are no longer controlled by impulse, you are guided by choice. After each challenge, reflection completes the process. Without reflection, effort fades into habit. Without learning, reflection transforms experience into wisdom. Take a few minutes to ask, what did this situation reveal about my reactions? What did I handle well? And what can I improve next time? This practice sharpens self-knowledge and builds emotional intelligence. Reflection should be factual, not emotional. Record what happened, how you felt, what you did, and the outcome. Avoid labels such as good or bad. Focus on clarity. Accuracy strengthens resilience because it reduces self-deception and increases trust in your judgment. Resilience also requires accepting emotions without letting them dictate behavior. Feeling stress, sadness, or frustration is natural. Resisting emotions intensifies them. Acknowledging emotions allows them to pass. When you feel discomfort, name it silently and continue acting according to your values. This teaches your nervous system that emotions do not equal danger. Daily challenges should vary to build adaptability. Challenge your patience, your discipline, your honesty, and your consistency. Variety prevents stagnation and ensures balanced growth. Emotional resilience is not just about endurance, but flexibility, the ability to adjust without breaking. Another key practice is reframing setbacks as information. When something goes wrong, resist the urge to personalize or catastrophize. Instead, ask what this experience teaches you. This mindset reduces emotional charge and increases problem-solving capacity. Resilience thrives when ego steps aside. Physical habits support emotional resilience. Consistent sleep, movement, hydration, and nutrition stabilize mood and energy. Neglecting the body weakens emotional control. Because the nervous system becomes sensitive, resilience is harder when basic needs are ignored. Discipline in daily routine supports mental steadiness. Boundaries are another form of emotional resilience. Learning to say no without guilt and to disengage from draining situations protects emotional energy. Resilience is not about enduring everything, it is about choosing what deserves endurance. Wisdom lies in discernment. Social interactions offer daily opportunities to practice resilience. Misunderstandings, criticism, and differing opinions test emotional balance. Practice listening without defensiveness, responding without hostility, and exiting conversations calmly when needed. These skills compound into strong interpersonal resilience. There will be days when resilience feels low. Fatigue, stress, or disappointment can reduce capacity. During these times, reduce challenge intensity, but do not abandon the practice. Consistency matters more than intensity. Showing up even lightly maintains momentum and self-trust. Resilience also grows through perspective. Remind yourself that current discomfort is temporary and part of a larger journey. This reduces emotional intensity and restores calm. Stoic thought teaches focusing on the present moment and accepting reality as it is rather than how you wish it were. Acceptance reduces internal conflict. Gratitude practiced realistically supports resilience. Acknowledging what is stable and working even during difficulty anchors emotions and prevents despair. This is not denial, but balance, recognizing strength alongside struggle. Over time, small challenges reshape identity. You begin to see yourself as capable, steady, and adaptable. This identity reinforces behavior. When difficulties arise, you respond with confidence rather than panic. Resilience becomes a default state rather than an effort. End each day by reviewing one challenge faced and how you responded. Acknowledge effort regardless of outcome. This reinforces growth and maintains motivation. Resilience is built through patience, honesty, and daily practice, not dramatic moments. Commit to cultivating resilience quietly and consistently. Life will still present difficulty, but it will no longer control your direction. You will move through challenges with steadiness, learn from setbacks, and continue forward, grounded in discipline, clarity, and inner strength. Chapter 4. Sharpen persuasive influence using clear benefits and honest language. Persuasive influence is not about pressure, control, or clever wording. It is about clarity, trust, and respect. People are influenced most deeply when they feel understood, informed, and free to choose. This chapter focuses on sharpening influence through clear benefits and honest language, because persuasion that lasts is rooted in truth, not tactics. When words align with reality, people listen. When they listen, influence becomes natural. Many people struggle with influence because they speak from their own needs. Instead of the other person's perspective, they explain what they want without clarifying why it matters. Persuasion begins when you shift focus from self-expression to value communication. Influence grows when others clearly see how an idea serves them, their goals, or their situation. Clear benefits are not exaggerated promises. They are specific outcomes that matter to the listener. Vague statements create doubt. Clarity builds trust. Instead of saying something is good or important, explain how it helps, what problem it solves, and what changes as a result. When benefits are concrete, the mind relaxes and resistance lowers. Honest language is the foundation of ethical influence. People sense dishonesty, even when they cannot articulate it. Overstated claims, hidden motives, and manipulation destroy credibility quickly. Once trust is lost, influence collapses. Honest language respects intelligence. It presents facts, limits, and possibilities without distortion. This creates long-term influence rather than short-term compliance. Before speaking to persuade, clarify your intention. Ask yourself what outcome you want and whether it aligns with integrity. Persuasion should never require you to abandon. Language choice matters. Use words that reflect confidence and realism. Avoid extremes, such as always or never. Speak in measured terms. This signals maturity and reliability. People trust communicators who sound balanced rather than dramatic. Align benefits with values. Influence strengthens when ideas connect to what people already care about: security, growth, efficiency, fairness. Identify these values and frame benefits accordingly. This is not manipulation. It is relevance, making ideas meaningful within existing priorities. Be transparent about limitations. Acknowledging drawbacks does not weaken persuasion. It strengthens it. Honesty builds credibility. When people see that you are not hiding flaws, they trust your judgment more. This balanced approach signals integrity. Tone plays a significant role. Calm, steady delivery reinforces trust. Aggressive or rushed speech creates resistance, even if content is strong. Influence flows best through composed communication that invites rather than pushes. Practice explaining ideas in one or two clear sentences. This forces clarity. If you cannot state the benefit, simply the idea may not be clear enough. Refine until simplicity emerges. Clarity convinces more effectively than complexity. Influence also depends on consistency. Words must align with actions. Credibility grows when behavior matches promises. Inconsistency weakens persuasion faster than any argument. Strong influence is built through repeated alignment over time. Another powerful aspect of honest persuasion is admitting uncertainty when appropriate. Pretending to know everything creates distance. Acknowledging unknowns builds connection and realism. People respect those who speak truthfully, even when answers are incomplete. Avoid competing for dominance. Influence is not about winning conversations. It is about guiding understanding. When you prioritize mutual benefit over personal victory, persuasion becomes collaborative rather than confrontational. Real-world practice strengthens skill. Apply these principles in daily conversations, at work, at home, and in social settings. Focus on clarity, honesty, and benefit awareness. Observe responses and adjust. Reflection after interactions deepens learning. Stoic discipline emphasizes control over self rather than others. Persuasive influence begins internally. Regulate emotion, speak deliberately, and detach from immediate outcomes. This steadiness makes communication grounded and persuasive. Over time, honest influence shapes reputation. People begin to seek your opinion because they trust your judgment. Trust is the highest form of influence. It cannot be forced, only earned. End each day by reflecting on one interaction. Ask whether benefits were clear and language was honest. This reinforces awareness and improvement. Persuasion is a craft refined through practice, patience, and integrity. Commit to sharpening influence through clarity and honesty, and you will find that persuasion becomes less about effort and more about alignment. Words carry weight because they are true. Intentions resonate because they are transparent, and influence endures because it is grounded in respect and discipline. Chapter 5. Practice active listening to understand other people's feelings and motives. Active listening is one of the most powerful, yet neglected skills in personal growth, influence, and daily communication. Most people hear words, but few truly listen. Listening is not waiting for your turn to speak. It is the disciplined act of giving full attention to another person to understand their feelings, motives, and perspective without rushing to judge, correct, or respond. When practiced well, it transforms relationships, builds trust, and sharpens influence naturally. Many conflicts, misunderstandings, and missed opportunities happen not because people disagree, but because they feel unseen or unheard. When someone senses that their inner experience is ignored, resistance rises and communication closes. Active listening reverses this pattern by creating psychological safety. People open up when they feel respected, and that openness reveals what truly drives their behavior. Listening begins with restraint, the ability to quiet your inner dialogue while someone else is speaking. This is difficult because the mind likes to plan responses, recall experiences, or form opinions. Discipline is required to stay present. Bring attention back to the speaker's words, tone, and body language. Each time it drifts, presence is a skill strengthened through practice, not talent. Start by giving full physical attention. Face the person, maintain comfortable eye contact, and remove distractions. Silence your phone and avoid multitasking. These signals communicate respect. Even before words are exchanged, people notice when attention is divided and adjust their openness accordingly. Listen for meaning, not just information. Words often carry emotional weight beneath their surface. Notice shifts in tone, pauses, and emphasis. These cues reveal feelings that may not be directly stated. Understanding emotion deepens comprehension and prevents shallow responses. Avoid interrupting even when you think you understand. Interruptions signal impatience and shift focus back to yourself. Allow the speaker to complete thoughts fully. This patience often leads to deeper insights as people reveal more once they feel uninterrupted. Reflecting back what you hear strengthens connection. Briefly restate key points in your own words to confirm understanding. This shows effort and reduces misinterpretation. It also encourages the speaker to clarify or expand, which deepens mutual understanding. Ask open questions that invite explanation rather than defense questions. Starting with what or how encourage reflection and signal curiosity. Avoid questions that imply judgment or lead to predetermined answers. Curiosity builds trust, control erodes it. Active listening also requires emotional regulation. Strong emotions can arise when hearing criticism, disagreement, or pain. Notice your reactions without acting on them. Maintain calm and grounded presence. This steadiness reassures others and keeps communication constructive. Understanding motives is as important as understanding words. People act from needs, fears, values, and goals. When you listen for these drivers, responses become more effective. Instead of reacting to behavior, address underlying motivations. This reduces conflict and increases cooperation. Practice listening without immediately offering solutions. Many people seek understanding before advice. Premature problem solving can feel dismissive. Wait until the person signals readiness for input. This patience strengthens influence and respect. Silence is a valuable tool. Allow moments of quiet after someone speaks. Silence invites deeper reflection and signals that you are considering their words rather than rushing to reply. Discomfort with silence often leads to shallow conversation. Embrace it as part of listening. Active listening also involves setting aside assumptions. Approach conversations with openness rather than fixed narratives. Even familiar people can surprise you when given space. Curiosity keeps listening fresh and prevents complacency. In difficult conversations, focus on understanding rather than winning. Debates damage relationships. Listening preserves them. When people feel heard, disagreements become manageable and solutions emerge more easily. Practice active listening in daily interactions. Simple conversations provide training grounds with family, colleagues, and strangers. Apply presence, patience, and reflection. Consistency builds skill. Listening also sharpens self-awareness. Noticing reactions reveals personal triggers and biases. This insight supports emotional discipline and growth. Stoic wisdom emphasizes control over self. Active listening embodies this by requiring restraint, humility, and focus. It shifts attention outward, reducing ego-driven responses. Over time, active listening becomes natural conversations, feel calmer, more meaningful and efficient misunderstandings, decreased trust grows and influence strengthens without force. At the end of each day, reflect on one interaction. Ask whether you truly listened, what you learned, and how you might improve. Reflection turns experience into progress. Commit to listening as a daily discipline. It requires effort, but returns clarity, connection, and respect. Through active listening, you understand not only words but people, and that understanding is the foundation of wise communication, strong relationships, and lasting influence. Chapter 6. Frame persuasive stories that connect needs, solutions, and next steps. Persuasive stories are not entertainment tools or dramatic performances. They are structured ways of helping people understand why something matters, what can improve, and what to do next. When stories are framed with clarity and purpose, they guide thinking rather than manipulate emotion. The goal is not to impress, but to create understanding that leads to thoughtful action. This chapter focuses on using stories to connect needs, solutions, and next steps in a way that feels honest, grounded, and people remember stories because stories organize information in a human way. Facts alone inform, but stories help people see themselves in the situation. When someone can recognize their own challenges inside a story, resistance lowers and attention increases. This is not because the story is emotional, but because it feels relevant. Relevance is the heart of persuasion. Effective persuasive stories begin with a real need. A need is a problem, tension, desire, or obstacle that the listener already recognizes. If a story begins without a clear need, it feels distant and unimportant. Start where the listener is, not where you want them to be. Show that you understand the situation they face. This creates connection and trust before any solution is offered. To identify the right need, listen carefully to concerns, frustrations, and goals. People often express needs indirectly through complaints, hesitation, or repeated questions. Pay attention to patterns. These reveal what truly matters. When your story reflects those needs accurately, the listener feels understood. Once the need is clear, introduce a solution, not as a perfect fix, but as a practical response. Explain how the solution addresses the need step by step. Avoid exaggeration. Clarity builds credibility. Describe what changed and why it mattered. Keep the focus on usefulness rather than praise. A strong solution is believable because it respects limitations, acknowledge effort, trade-offs, and learning. Involved, this honesty increases trust and makes outcomes feel achievable. People are persuaded when they believe they can apply the solution themselves. The final part of a persuasive story is direction, next steps. Guide the listener toward action without pressure. Explain what can be done now, what can be tested, or what can be considered. Next, clarity reduces hesitation. When people know what to do, they are more likely to act. Keep stories simple. Avoid unnecessary details that distract from the message. Every part of the story should support understanding of need, solution, or next. Tone matters. Speak calmly and clearly. Avoid dramatic language or emotional appeals. Grounded delivery keeps focus on meaning rather than performance. Persuasion works best when the listener feels respected, not overwhelmed. Use real experiences whenever possible. Authenticity strengthens connection. Even small everyday stories can be powerful when they reflect common challenges. Relatability matters more than scale. Stories should invite reflection, not demand agreement. Allow space for listeners to draw their own conclusions. This respect builds autonomy and increases acceptance. People resist being told what to think, but welcome guidance that helps them think better. Practice crafting short stories. Daily reflect on experiences and structure them mentally. Identify the need you faced, the solution you tried, and what you learned. This trains clarity and prepares you for conversations where influence matters. Avoid using stories to position yourself as superior. Focus on learning rather than achievement. Humility keeps stories accessible and reduces defensiveness. In professional settings, stories help align teams and clarify decisions. Use them to explain why changes are needed, how they address problems, and what actions are expected. This reduces confusion and builds commitment. In personal relationships, stories help express feelings and boundaries. Sharing experiences with clarity prevents misunderstanding and fosters empathy. Stoic discipline emphasizes reason and clarity. Persuasive stories align with this by guiding understanding rather than stirring uncontrolled emotion. They respect the listener's rational capacity. Observe responses to your stories. Adjust based on feedback. Reflection. Improve skill. Notice which parts engage and which confuse. Refine accordingly. End each day by reviewing one story you told or could have told. Consider how clearly it connected. Need solution. And next step. This reflection strengthens future communication. When used with integrity, persuasive stories become tools for alignment, progress, and understanding. They help people see possibilities and choose action without force. Practice consistently, and storytelling will become a natural extension of clear thinking, honest speech, and ethical influence. Chapter 7. Lead conversations with calm confidence and clear purpose. Always. Leading a conversation does not mean dominating it or controlling every word. It means providing direction, stability, and clarity, so the exchange moves towards something useful. Calm confidence and clear purpose are what separate scattered talk from meaningful dialogue. Many people enter conversations hoping things go well. Strong communicators enter knowing what the conversation is for and remaining steady regardless of how it unfolds. Calm confidence begins before the first word is spoken. It starts with internal preparation. When you know why you are entering a conversation, you remove uncertainty. Uncertainty fuels anxiety. Clarity dissolves it. Ask yourself quietly, what is the purpose of this conversation? Is it to decide, clarify, align, resolve, or understand? This single question sets direction and prevents drifting. Purpose does not require rigidity. It provides a compass, not a script. Conversations are dynamic, but when purpose is clear, you can adapt without losing direction. Calm confidence comes from knowing where you are headed, even if the path adjusts. Your emotional state sets the tone. Others will follow. If you enter tense, rushed, or defensive, the conversation mirrors that energy. Calm presence slows the exchange and creates safety. Breathe steadily, relax your shoulders, and speak at a measured pace. These physical cues signal control to both yourself and others. Leading a conversation also means managing your reactions. Unexpected comments, disagreement, or silence can trigger emotional responses. Notice them without reacting immediately. Pause before responding. This pause is not weakness. It is leadership. It shows you are thoughtful rather than impulsive. Clear purpose shows up in how you open conversations. Begin with a simple statement of intent, such as wanting to understand, align, or decide. This removes ambiguity and builds trust. People feel more comfortable when expectations are clear. As the conversation unfolds, guide it gently back to purpose. When it drifts, this can be done by summarizing or asking focused questions. Redirection does not require confrontation. It requires awareness. Phrases that reconnect ideas maintain flow without friction. Confidence in conversation is not about certainty on every point. It is about comfort with not knowing everything. Admit gaps when they exist. Honesty strengthens credibility. People trust leaders who acknowledge limits rather than pretend mastery. Listen actively and respond thoughtfully. Leadership is not constant speaking. It is choosing when to speak and when to hold space. Calm leaders do not rush to fill silence. They allow it to work. Silence often encourages deeper responses and reflection. Clear language reinforces confidence. Avoid excessive qualifiers, apologies, or filler words. Speak directly and respectfully. Simplicity conveys authority. Complexity often hides uncertainty. Boundaries are part of leading conversations. Know what topics are productive and which are distractions. If conversation turns unproductive, calmly steer it back or suggest revisiting later. This preserves energy and focus. In difficult conversations, remain grounded. When emotions rise, acknowledge feelings without losing purpose. Recognition diffuses tension. Ignoring emotion escalates it. Calm acknowledgement paired with direction maintains balance. Leading conversations also involves pacing. Some discussions require time, others need efficiency. Adjust accordingly. Forcing speed can create resistance. Dragging can dilute impact. Purpose guides pacing. Observe group dynamics. Notice who speaks, who withdraws. Invite balanced participation. Inclusive leadership strengthens outcomes and builds trust. People feel valued when given space to contribute. Confidence grows through experience practice. Leading small everyday conversations, ordering meetings, or clarifying plans. Repetition builds familiarity. Familiarity reduces fear. Reflect after conversations. Consider what worked, what shifted energy, and how purpose was maintained. Reflection sharpens awareness and skill. Stoic discipline supports this approach by emphasizing self-control, focus, and reason. Lead yourself first, regulate emotions, maintain values, and accept what you cannot control. This steadiness influences others naturally. Over time, people begin to look to you for direction, not because you force it, but because your presence brings clarity and calm. This is quiet leadership built through consistency, not performance. End each day by recognizing one conversation you led with intention. Acknowledge effort. Growth builds confidence. Commit to entering conversations with calm confidence and clear purpose. This practice transforms communication into a tool for alignment, understanding, and progress. Leadership is not about being the loudest voice, but the clearest and most steady one in the room. Chapter 8. Influence decisions ethically by presenting evidence, options, and recommendations. Ethical influence is built on respect, transparency, and accuracy. It is not about manipulation, coercion, or pressure. Influencing decisions requires presenting information clearly, providing options, and offering well-reasoned recommendations. When approached this way, people feel empowered rather than controlled, and they are more likely to act thoughtfully. This chapter focuses on mastering influence by combining evidence, clarity, and integrity to guide decisions responsibly. Begin by gathering accurate evidence before presenting any recommendation. Ensure your information is reliable, relevant, and verifiable. Avoid assumptions or incomplete data. Influence without truth is fragile and easily rejected. Credibility is earned through diligence in preparation and honesty in presentation. Presenting options demonstrates respect for autonomy. It allows people to see different paths and consider what fits their needs best. When multiple solutions are laid out clearly, the listener can evaluate consequences and benefits for themselves, making choice a conscious act rather than a passive acceptance. Options should be practical and realistic. Avoid overwhelming with too many alternatives. Focus on a few well-considered paths that address the issue directly. Clarity simplifies decision making and prevents confusion. When people understand their choices, they feel capable rather than pressured. Recommendations provide guidance without dictating action. Offer insights based on evidence and experience. Explain why a particular path may be more effective while leaving space for the listener to decide. This approach balances leadership with respect and reduces resistance while maintaining influence. When presenting evidence, speak clearly and logically. Avoid exaggeration or selective presentation. Highlight relevant data and trends that support understanding. This transparency strengthens trust. When people see the reasoning behind suggestions, they are more likely to value and follow them. Frame the consequences of each option. Honestly, people need to see potential benefits and challenges without distortion. Framing allows informed decisions. Ethical influence relies on accurate context, not persuasion disguised as fact, fear, or hope. Based exaggerations erode credibility quickly. Listen carefully to responses as evidence and options are presented. Notice questions, hesitations, and emotions. These signals guide refinement, clarify misunderstood points, and adjust explanations accordingly. Adapting, while staying honest, ensures that influence remains grounded in respect and understanding. Confidence in presenting evidence and recommendations comes from preparation, not performance rehearsal. Focus on knowing your material and reasoning rather than memorizing phrases. Confidence naturally emerges when knowledge is solid and your approach is principled. Ethical influence also involves patience. Allow time for reflection. People may need to process options before acting. Rushing decisions reduces comprehension and increases errors. Support thoughtful consideration. It demonstrates respect for their judgment and strengthens your credibility. Language should remain precise and direct. Avoid vague generalities or assumptions. Speak to the facts, observed patterns, and logical conclusions. Clear communication prevents misinterpretation and reinforces authority without aggression. Persuasive clarity builds understanding rather than imposing it. Balance optimism and realism. Highlight opportunities without dismissing challenges. Honesty encourages trust. People respond to realistic optimism more than idealistic promises. Acknowledging potential difficulties does not weaken your influence, it reinforces integrity. Structure presentations of evidence and recommendations sequentially begin with context, then options, then analysis, followed by your recommendation. This logical flow aligns with how people process information and increases the likelihood of comprehension and thoughtful action. Ethical influence extends to follow-up support. After recommendations, provide guidance, answer questions, and offer resources for informed implementation. This demonstrates commitment to outcomes rather than simply winning agreement, which deepens trust and long-term credibility. Stoic principles underpin ethical influence by emphasizing reason, integrity, and self-control. Control your emotions. Present facts calmly and accept outcomes outside your control. This steadiness fosters confidence in your judgment and encourages careful consideration by others. Observe patterns in responses to refine future influence. Notice which explanations resonate and which create confusion. Reflection improves clarity and effectiveness. Over time, consistent evaluation enhances skill and ethical impact. Avoid manipulating decision makers with selective evidence, emotional pressure, or framing tricks. Ethical influence succeeds because it empowers informed action rather than coerces compliance. Integrity ensures that influence is respected and durable. Practice presenting small recommendations daily in professional and personal contexts. Articulate evidence, offer options, and suggest a path forward. This repetition builds skill, familiarity, and confidence in ethical persuasion over time. Over time, consistent ethical influence transforms relationships, communication, and outcomes. People increasingly rely on your guidance because they trust your honesty, reasoning, and respect for autonomy. Influence becomes a byproduct of credibility rather than force. At the end of each day, reflect on one instance of presenting evidence or guidance. Consider clarity, completeness, respect for autonomy, and receptivity. This reflection consolidates learning and improves future interactions. Commit to influencing decisions ethically, using evidence, options, and thoughtful recommendations, and your ability to guide outcomes will grow naturally. Influence achieved with integrity strengthens trust, promotes understanding, and encourages deliberate, confident action by others, making it sustainable and impactful in every aspect of life. Chapter 9. Practice concise messaging by editing out fluff before speaking. Concise messaging is a skill that transforms communication from noise into clarity. It allows ideas to be received accurately and efficiently. Most people speak with excess words, unnecessary qualifiers, and repeated points, which dilute meaning and frustrate listeners. Practicing concise messaging requires discipline, awareness, and deliberate editing of thoughts before they leave your mouth. Before speaking, pause and clarify your core point. Ask yourself what the essential idea is and what outcome you want from sharing it. Brevity begins with clarity of thought. When your mind knows exactly what matters, your words naturally follow in a streamlined way. Eliminating fluff requires honesty about what is necessary versus what is comfortable to say. Many people fill gaps with filler words, apologies, or background stories that are not essential. These additions may feel safe, but they confuse listeners and weaken influence. Every word should serve purpose or meaning. Focus on precision. Each sentence should convey one thought fully without wandering into tangents or vague statements. Avoid explaining simple concepts. Clarity builds credibility. Listeners trust speakers who convey essential information efficiently. Editing begins internally before speaking. When forming a sentence, mentally scan for unnecessary prefaces, qualifiers, or repetition. Remove anything that does not strengthen comprehension. This internal review ensures speech is intentional rather than reactive. Practice summarizing ideas in 1 or 2 sentences before expanding. If you cannot condense a concept into a concise statement, it may not be fully clear to yourself. Concise thought precedes concise speech. Clarity in thinking enables clarity in expression. Use strong verbs and specific nouns. Avoid ambiguous terms and passive phrasing. Words like maybe, sort of, or I think weaken statements. Replace them with precise language that communicates confidence without arrogance. Precision reduces misunderstanding and strengthens authority. Pauses are part of concise messaging, allowing space for the listener to absorb information and for the speaker to consider whether additional explanation is needed. Long monologues often overwhelm clarity. Measured pauses enhance understanding. Avoid excessive apologies or hedging before expressing points. These undermine authority and add fluff. A concise speaker states points clearly and acknowledges relevance without over-justifying or over-explaining statements. This builds confidence and respect from listeners. Structure your message. Logically lead with the main idea, support briefly, and close with the takeaway. This sequence helps the listener process information quickly and remember the core message without distraction or confusion. Regularly review past communications to identify patterns of verbosity. Notice where clarity could have been improved. This reflection creates awareness, allowing continuous refinement of concise messaging habits. Practice speaking on small topics daily in 1 to 2 sentences. Focus on eliminating redundancy and staying on point. Repetition and filler words decrease naturally. With conscious effort, repetition diminishes the listener's engagement and weakens perceived authority. Active listening supports concise messaging. If you understand what the other person wants or needs to hear, you can focus your words directly on that point. Unnecessary details fade away. Targeted speech improves impact. Feedback is valuable. Use trusted colleagues or friends to assess whether your points are clear and concise. Avoid defensiveness. When reviewing critiques, accept them as data for improvement. Concise speech is refined through external perspective as well as self-awareness. Visual cues and gestures can reinforce concise messaging. Use deliberate hand movement, eye contact, and posture to underline your point, reducing the need for extra words. Physical communication can convey meaning efficiently, complementing verbal clarity. Avoid multitasking. While speaking, mental distractions lead to filler words, digression, and unclear messaging. Focused attention enhances precision. When your mind is fully engaged, every word becomes purposeful and meaningful. Concise messaging also improves written communication. Speaking clarity often translates into writing clarity. Keep emails, notes, or presentations tight, structured, and direct. This practice reinforces verbal habits and ensures consistent clarity across mediums. Observe speakers who convey ideas efficiently. Analyze how they structure messages, reduce fluff, and maintain audience engagement. Note techniques for phrasing, tone, and pacing that can be adapted into your own style. Concise speech is learned by imitation as well as practice. Stoic discipline applies here by emphasizing control and intention over impulsive action. Speaking is a form of action. Every word is a choice. Manage them thoughtfully, speak with purpose, and avoid reacting mechanically. Control over expression reflects control over self. End each day by reviewing one interaction where your speech could have been tighter. Note successes and areas for improvement. Consistent reflection accelerates skill development and embeds concise messaging into daily practice. Commit to editing thoughts before speaking, removing unnecessary words, and delivering points directly, and communication will become clearer, more persuasive, and more impactful. Concise speech empowers both the speaker and the listener, builds trust, and strengthens influence in every conversation. Chapter 10. Build daily habits that strengthen courage, patience, and clarity. Building daily habits that strengthen courage, patience, and clarity is not about occasional effort or grand gestures. Real growth comes from small, consistent actions repeated with intention. Courage is reinforced by facing challenges steadily rather than avoiding them. Patience develops when you allow processes to unfold without rushing or forcing results. Clarity emerges when your mind is disciplined, focused, and free from unnecessary distraction. Daily habits are the scaffolding that supports these qualities, and establishing them intentionally transforms your ability to act with strength, reason, and composure in every area of life. Start by identifying routines that provide repeated exposure to discomfort and challenge. These can be physical, mental, or emotional. Physical challenges could include consistent exercise, cold exposure, or waking earlier than usual. Each small act of discipline trains courage because it teaches you to act despite resistance. Mental challenges might involve solving difficult problems, learning new skills, or engaging in focused reading. Emotional challenges can be practiced through thoughtful reflection, managing irritation, or holding steady in uncomfortable conversations. Courage grows when you consistently act, even when fear, doubt, or hesitation is present. Patience is reinforced by creating systems that emphasize long-term results over immediate gratification. Begin with simple tasks like waiting a few extra minutes before responding in conversation, completing slow and deliberate work, or committing to projects that require sustained effort. Observing the process of growth rather than the outcome strengthens tolerance for delays, mistakes, and setbacks. This repeated practice shapes your nervous system to remain calm when timelines stretch and when immediate success is not apparent. Patience is not passive waiting, it is deliberate, active endurance, cultivated through practice. Clarity requires daily moments of intentional focus. Start by removing unnecessary mental clutter. Spend 5 to 10 minutes each morning, writing down priorities, noting distractions, and reviewing goals. Engage in reflection on decisions you made the previous day, analyzing which were effective and which lacked foresight. Simplify decisions whenever possible and avoid overcomplicating tasks. Repeated focus strengthens the ability to think clearly under pressure. Clarity is not about having all answers, but about organizing thought to respond effectively to challenges. Habits are most powerful when small, manageable, and consistent. Choose daily practices that fit your schedule and environment. For courage, act on one fear or hesitation each day. For patience, intentionally delay a response or decision that could be rushed. For clarity, spend 5 minutes reviewing your intentions for the day. These micro-habits compound over time. Courage, patience, and clarity are strengthened incrementally through deliberate repetition. Track your progress to reinforce habits, journaling daily about actions taken, responses to challenges, and insights gained consolidates learning. Reflection reinforces awareness of patterns and growth. Noting instances when you acted courageously, demonstrated patience, or thought with clarity provides feedback that encourages continuation and refinement. Measurement is not about judgment but awareness. It transforms routine into conscious practice. Self-discipline is central to building these qualities. Avoid skipping habitual practices, even on low motivation days. Commitment to routine over mood trains reliability. The nervous system learns that consistency is more important than temporary desire or emotion. Courage is reinforced because action is expected regardless of comfort. Patience is practiced because systems are followed steadily, and clarity is reinforced because focus becomes habitual rather than reactive environmental cues. Support habit formation. Surround yourself with reminders that reinforce your objectives. Place visual cues in your workspace, set alerts for reflection time, and create physical conditions that encourage discipline. Reducing distractions, organizing your environment, and structuring your day intentionally improves clarity and reduces friction in practicing courage and patience. Habits flourish in an environment that supports them. Engage in regular reflection and adjustment. Evaluate which habits are producing results and which need refinement. Courage may require gradually increasing exposure to larger challenges. Patience may need longer delays or more complex processes. Clarity may need extended focus sessions or refined goal. Setting practices, reflection, ensures habits evolve to remain effective and aligned with your growth objectives. Accountability enhances habit formation. Share intentions with a trusted friend, mentor, or community. Reporting progress and setbacks strengthens commitment. The social aspect reinforces consistency and provides perspective. Feedback from others can reveal blind spots and improve awareness of patterns that affect courage, patience, and clarity. Incorporate mindfulness and presence into daily habits. Focus on the present task rather than distraction or anticipation. Awareness of thought and emotional patterns improves self-control. Mindfulness supports calm responses to challenges, enabling patience under stress, courage under fear, and clarity in decision-making. Habits rooted in attention strengthen the foundation of these qualities more effectively than mechanical repetition. Balance action with rest. Overextension can erode courage, patience, and clarity. Daily habits must include recovery, reflection, and restorative practices such as walking, meditation, or quiet contemplation. Energy management ensures sustainable growth and prevents burnout. Courage is reinforced when actions are deliberate and not desperate. Patience is strengthened when waiting does not feel exhausting. Clarity is sharpened when the mind is refreshed, rather than overloaded. Stoic principles guide the development of these qualities. Accept what is beyond your control, act deliberately where you can, and maintain internal discipline. Courage is practiced through deliberate action without attachment to outcome. Patience is reinforced by acceptance of process. Clarity is strengthened by focusing only on what can be reasonably understood or influenced. Integrating these principles ensures habits build enduring internal strength rather than temporary performance. Over time, these daily habits form a resilient framework for living. Courage becomes habitual rather than rare. Patience becomes the default response to delay or challenge. Clarity becomes the lens through which you assess problems and make decisions. These qualities support growth across relationships, work, and personal development. They form the foundation of disciplined living and meaningful action. End each day by reviewing your progress. Note moments of courage, patience, and clarity, however small. Reflect on how actions reinforced habits and where improvement is possible. Daily review consolidates practice and fosters awareness, which accelerates development. Consistency over time produces compound growth, transforming small daily actions into profound personal change. Commit to practicing habits that strengthen courage, patience, and clarity daily. Focus on small, consistent actions, reflection, environmental support, and mindfulness. Over time, these habits will transform responses, enhance judgment, and fortify internal resilience. Growth is achieved not through occasional effort, but through disciplined, repeated practice, and the daily reinforcement of these qualities builds a life defined by strength, steadiness, and discernment. Chapter 11. Speak with authority by mastering facts, tone, and pacing. Speaking with authority is the result of preparation, self-awareness, and intentional delivery. Authority is not about volume, dominance, or intimidation. It is about presence, clarity, and credibility. People respond to voices that convey certainty grounded in knowledge, delivered with confidence and composure. To speak authoritatively, mastery of facts, tone, and pacing is essential, because each element reinforces perception of competence and trustworthiness. The goal is to communicate in a way that inspires respect, fosters understanding, and encourages action without coercion. Begin with facts. Knowledge is the foundation of authority. When you speak confidently about a subject, it signals competence and reliability. Facts should be accurate, relevant, and well organized. Preparation matters more than spontaneity. Take time to research and verify information. Understanding the material thoroughly allows you to answer questions, address objections, and clarify points without hesitation. Authority grows when others sense that your knowledge is genuine, precise, and applicable. Select information that directly supports your message. Avoid overloading with irrelevant details. Focus on what matters most to the listener. Prioritize clarity over quantity. Presenting facts in logical sequence helps the audience follow your reasoning and reduces confusion. People are persuaded when they can track cause and effect and see evidence supporting claims. Mastering facts also allows flexibility in conversation. You can adapt while maintaining accuracy and credibility. Tone shapes how facts are received. A calm, steady voice conveys confidence, while fluctuating volume or pitch can signal uncertainty. Emphasize key points with subtle inflection rather than shouting or exaggerating. Tone communicates emotion and intent. A controlled tone demonstrates composure, command, and reliability. Avoid monotony. Variation in pitch, when used deliberately, highlights essential ideas without appearing erratic. Listeners subconsciously assess tone to gauge trustworthiness and authority. Pacing is equally critical. Speaking too quickly can overwhelm listeners, cause misunderstandings, and suggest nervousness. Speaking too slowly may bore or frustrate an audience and diminish impact. Intentional pacing allows the listener time to absorb and reflect on information. Pauses are powerful tools. They emphasize important points, create anticipation, and give space for understanding. Authority is reinforced when words are deliberate, measured, and easy to follow. Combine facts, tone, and pacing with confident body language, posture, gestures, and eye contact reinforce verbal authority. Standing or sitting upright, maintaining open posture, and engaging visually with your audience signals presence and credibility. Gestures should support rather than distract. Physical alignment with speech demonstrates coherence between intention and expression. Confidence is communicated holistically, not just through words. Anticipate questions and challenges. Authoritative speakers foresee potential doubts and prepare thoughtful responses. Mastery of facts enables swift clarification and reinforces trust. Anticipation requires understanding both the material and the audience. Authority is strengthened when listeners feel their concerns are acknowledged and addressed competently. Practice clarity in word choice. Avoid filler words, hedging, or vague terms that weaken perceived authority. Replace "I think" or "maybe" with precise language supported by evidence. Strong, clear statements convey certainty without arrogance. Authority depends on perceived competence, and weak language undermines credibility even when knowledge is solid. Listen actively as you speak. Authority does not mean dominating the conversation. It means guiding it with clarity and responsiveness. Adjust tone, pacing, and emphasis based on feedback from the audience. People notice when speakers are attuned to their understanding, which builds rapport and enhances influence. Speaking with authority requires interaction, not monologue. Confidence is cultivated through repetition and reflection. Practice speaking on topics of expertise aloud, record yourself, and assess your tone, pacing, and clarity. Rehearsal does not create rigidity. It develops automatic control that allows you to remain composed in real situations. Reflection identifies strengths and areas for refinement. Mastery develops gradually through persistent practice. Avoid overstating knowledge. Authentic authority comes from acknowledging limits when necessary. Admitting gaps demonstrates honesty and builds long-term credibility. Listeners respect those who speak from competence while acknowledging areas for growth. Confidence combined with humility strengthens influence far more than overconfidence. Structured delivery reinforces authority. Begin with a clear introduction that frames the topic. Proceed with organized supporting points, and conclude with a concise summary. Logical sequencing and repetition of key ideas increase retention and clarity. Structure allows listeners to follow reasoning effortlessly, enhancing trust in your competence. Manage nervousness intentionally. Breathing techniques, posture adjustments, and pre-speech mental preparation reduce tension. Authority is diminished when anxiety manifests as rapid speech, fidgeting, or vocal strain. Composure under pressure demonstrates mastery and inspires confidence. Emotional self-regulation amplifies credibility. Observe experienced communicators. Analyze how they balance facts, tone, and pacing to convey authority. Notice their pauses, emphasis, and interaction with the audience. Learning from observation reinforces best practices and highlights subtle skills that enhance perception of competence. Adapt lessons to your own style without imitation. Authority extends beyond single interactions. Consistency builds reputation. Speaking with mastery, composure, and clarity over time earns trust. Repetition of disciplined communication habits reinforces credibility, making audiences more receptive and cooperative in the long term. Commit to developing authority daily. Engage in study, rehearsal, mindful speaking, and reflective practice. Strengthen voice control, pacing, and factual accuracy in every conversation. Authority is cultivated through consistent effort, self-awareness, and intentional practice rather than occasional displays of confidence. End each day by reviewing interactions. Assess tone, pacing, clarity, and factual accuracy. Note instances of effective authority and opportunities for improvement. Reflection reinforces learning and accelerates skill acquisition. Gradual, consistent refinement produces a natural, commanding presence. Speaking with authority requires mastery of facts, deliberate tone, and measured pacing combined with attentive listening, structured delivery, and confident presence. Authority emerges from preparation, clarity, and composure, not volume or aggression. Practicing these skills consistently ensures communication is impactful, trusted, and influential across all areas of life. Chapter 12. Develop persuasive questions that guide thinking and reveal needs. Developing persuasive questions is a skill that transforms conversations into opportunities for understanding, influence, and guidance. Persuasive questions are not manipulative. They are thoughtfully constructed to encourage reflection, reveal underlying needs, and guide thinking toward clarity. Every interaction becomes more meaningful when questions are purposeful, intentional, and designed to elicit information that informs decisions and fosters collaboration. Mastery of this skill requires practice, observation, and awareness of both content and context, as well as careful attention to tone, timing, and phrasing. Start by understanding the purpose of your questions. Each question should have a clear objective, uncovering needs, clarifying goals, exploring options, or prompting reflection. Questions without purpose may lead to confusion, distraction, or defensiveness. Being intentional helps shape the conversation toward actionable outcomes and ensures that every word contributes to understanding rather than filling silence. Effective persuasive questions begin with curiosity rather than judgment. Open-ended questions that start with what, how, or why invite explanation, reflection, and thoughtfulness. Closed questions that demand yes or no answers limit insight and engagement. Curiosity signals genuine interest, fosters trust, and encourages the speaker to share more honestly, which creates opportunities for understanding and influence. Crafting questions also requires attention to language. Avoid leading questions that suggest an answer or frame assumptions as facts. Neutral, precise wording encourages honesty and prevents defensive reactions. Questions should challenge thinking without provoking resistance. The balance between clarity and openness ensures that responses are authentic and actionable. Timing is critical in asking persuasive questions. Interrupting or rushing someone reduces their willingness to engage thoughtfully. Pausing allows reflection and signals that their response is valued. Listening fully before asking follow-up questions demonstrates respect and increases the quality of the information shared. Persuasive questioning is as much about listening as it is about speaking. Consider sequencing questions strategically. Start with broader, less personal inquiries to build comfort and trust, then gradually explore deeper or more critical issues. This approach reduces resistance, encourages honesty, and uncovers layers of insight systematically. Gradual exploration ensures that needs and motivations are revealed without pressure or confrontation. Active listening amplifies the effectiveness of questions. Pay attention to verbal cues, tone, body language, and hesitation. Responses often contain more information than words alone convey. Noticing subtle shifts allows for targeted follow-up questions that delve into priorities, concerns, and underlying needs. Persuasive questions are guided by attentive observation rather than guesswork. Link questions to goals and outcomes. Each inquiry should help clarify a path forward or illuminate decisions. For example, asking how a solution would impact daily routines reveals priorities, while asking what challenges have prevented progress uncovers obstacles. Questions framed around tangible outcomes connect abstract ideas to real-world context and create actionable insight. Questions can also challenge assumptions without confrontation. Asking someone to consider alternative perspectives, examine reasoning, or weigh evidence encourages reflection and critical thinking. This method gently guides thought processes without overt persuasion. Authority in questioning emerges from precision, neutrality, and focus on understanding rather than coercion. Encourage self-discovery through questions. People are more committed to solutions they identify themselves. Ask questions that help the other person recognize patterns, options, and priorities. Instead of prescribing answers, lead them to insights through structured inquiry. Persuasion is stronger when individuals arrive at conclusions autonomously. Maintain clarity and simplicity. Long, convoluted questions create confusion and reduce engagement. Break complex inquiries into smaller parts if necessary. Simple, direct questions are easier to process, respond to, and act upon. Clarity ensures that the conversation remains focused and meaningful. Observe emotional reactions as part of questioning. Tone, hesitation, and emphasis often indicate unspoken priorities or concerns. Tailor follow-up questions to explore these cues. Emotional awareness ensures questions address real motivations rather than surface-level responses, enhancing understanding and influence. Practice creating questions in everyday situations. Start with small interactions and focus on uncovering information or guiding decisions subtly. Over time, constructing purposeful questions becomes intuitive and conversational flow improves naturally. Daily practice strengthens skill, awareness, and confidence. Persuasive questioning is enhanced by patience. Allow the speaker to process and respond fully. Resist the urge to fill silence or rush to the next question. Thoughtful pauses encourage deeper reflection, richer answers, and more meaningful dialogue. Patience ensures that questions achieve their purpose rather than becoming routine or perfunctory. Combine questions with reflective summarization. Occasionally restate what you heard in neutral terms before asking the next question. This demonstrates understanding, builds trust, and confirms accuracy. Reflection prevents miscommunication and allows questions to probe deeper based on verified information. Adapt questioning style to context and audience. Consider personality, cultural norms, and conversational setting. Some individuals respond better to direct questions. Others require subtle, exploratory phrasing. Flexibility enhances effectiveness and prevents disengagement or defensiveness. Persuasive questions are context, sensitive, and responsive to real-time feedback. Monitor the balance between questioning and listening. Excessive questioning without attentive listening can feel interrogative. Persuasive inquiry is interactive, responsive, and empathetic. Authority emerges when questions guide the conversation naturally while allowing participants to feel heard and respected. Integrate ethical awareness. Questions should seek understanding, not manipulate or coerce. Maintain integrity in purpose and practice. Influence achieved through respect and genuine inquiry is lasting and builds trust, whereas manipulation undermines credibility in relationships. End each day by reflecting on questions asked and responses received. Identify which inquiries revealed meaningful information, which guided thinking, and which may have fallen flat. Daily reflection improves formulation, timing, and sequencing of future questions, strengthening skill incrementally. Commit to developing persuasive questioning as a core communication habit. Focus on clarity, neutrality, active listening, and ethical intent. Over time, these habits enable conversations that reveal needs, guide reasoning, and foster mutual understanding. Persuasive questions are tools for insight, influence, and collaboration, creating pathways to meaningful decisions and outcomes. Chapter 13. Strengthen presence through posture, breath, and focused eye contact. Strengthening presence is a fundamental skill that elevates communication, influence, and personal authority. Presence is not about dominating a space or projecting force. It is about clarity, calmness, and intentionality. People respond to individuals who occupy space with confidence, convey calm authority, and radiate focus. 3 essential elements build this presence: posture, breath, and focused eye contact. These components work together to create an impression of self, assurance, and attentiveness, while enhancing internal composure and external impact. Posture is the foundation of presence. Standing or sitting upright aligns the spine, opens the chest, and communicates stability. Slouched or tense posture signals fatigue, uncertainty, or disinterest. Adjusting posture requires awareness and habit. Simple changes like rolling shoulders back, lifting the head, and distributing weight evenly create immediate improvement. Posture also influences internal state. An upright stance engages the nervous system in a way that fosters confidence, alertness, and readiness to act. Breath regulates both physical and mental states. Conscious, steady breathing reduces tension, improves clarity, and controls nervous energy. Shallow or rapid breathing can create anxiety, disrupt thought patterns, and weaken vocal delivery. Practicing deep, diaphragmatic breaths before and during interactions maintains composure and steadiness. Breath supports presence by anchoring attention to the current moment, calming the body, and stabilizing speech. Focused eye contact enhances connection and authority. Looking directly at individuals conveys attentiveness and sincerity, while avoiding the eyes can signal uncertainty or distraction. Eye contact should be deliberate, balanced, and natural. Excessive staring can intimidate, while insufficient engagement diminishes impact. Observing micro-expressions and adjusting eye focus fosters empathy, responsiveness, and relational awareness. Effective eye contact creates a feedback loop where both speaker and listener remain aligned and engaged. Presence emerges when posture, breath, and eye contact are integrated seamlessly. Each reinforces the other. Proper posture facilitates controlled breathing, which in turn steadies eye contact and vocal delivery. The combination projects confidence, attention, and calm authority, making interactions more persuasive and memorable. Practicing these elements consistently transforms internal state and external perception simultaneously. Start by observing your natural habits in low-stakes situations. Notice slouching, fidgeting, shallow breathing, or gaze aversion. Awareness is the first step toward modification. Small conscious adjustments throughout the day compound into habitual patterns. For example, consciously straightening your back during routine activities reinforces posture, while pausing to inhale fully before responding to messages reinforces breath control. Breathing exercises are particularly effective for grounding presence. Practice inhaling deeply for 4 counts, holding for 4, exhaling for 6, and pausing for 2. This rhythm activates parasympathetic responses, reduces stress, and enhances focus. Integrate these exercises into daily routines before meetings or prior to challenging conversations. Breath, centered presence ensures reactions are measured, voice steady, and mind focused. Eye contact can be trained gradually. Begin by maintaining engagement during short exchanges and gradually extend duration in group settings. Shift attention naturally between individuals to avoid perceived intensity. Paired with active listening, eye contact reinforces attentiveness, comprehension, and authenticity. The goal is to create mutual focus that sustains dialogue and strengthens relational influence. Posture, breath, and eye contact also enhance vocal presence. A straight spine and open chest support strong vocal resonance. Controlled breathing allows even deliberate speech that conveys calm authority. Direct eye contact paired with clear, measured delivery reinforces credibility and ensures the message lands effectively. Presence is multidimensional. impacting both how you feel internally and how you are perceived externally. Environmental awareness strengthens practice. Adjust physical space to support posture and visibility. Stand or sit where your body is fully observable, ensuring gestures and expressions complement verbal communication. Position yourself to facilitate natural eye contact and prevent distraction. Presence is amplified when surroundings align with physical and verbal cues. Presence is further reinforced by composure under stress. Tension often manifests in slouched posture, shallow breath, or darting eyes. Recognizing these signals in real time allows for corrective action. Straighten posture, take a grounding breath, and re-establish calm eye contact. These micro-adjustments maintain authority and influence even during challenging interactions. Consistent reflection solidifies skill. After conversations, evaluate posture, breath, and eye engagement. Identify moments where presence was strong and areas for improvement. Tracking progress deepens self-awareness and accelerates development. Reflection ensures that practice translates into measurable improvement and internalization of habits. Integrate presence into daily routines. Use small interactions such as greeting colleagues, speaking on calls, or addressing groups as opportunities to reinforce posture, breath, and eye contact. Incremental repetition strengthens habit formation and builds natural, confident presence across diverse settings. Stoic discipline enhances presence. Focus on what is within control: your posture, breathing, attention, and composure. Accept that others' perceptions are influenced, but not controlled by your actions. Presence grows from mastery of self, rather than attempts to dominate perception. Internal calm translates outward, creating influence without aggression or overstatement. Presence also supports decision-making and clarity. Centered posture and regulated breath enhance cognitive focus, allowing better observation, analysis, and response. Eye contact ensures engagement with relevant cues and signals attention to others' needs and reactions. Physical presence and mental clarity are interconnected. Each amplifies the other. Over time, consistent cultivation of posture, breath, and eye contact transforms both personal confidence and social influence. People naturally respond to those who carry themselves with calm authority, attentive focus, and composure. Presence becomes intuitive rather than performative, enhancing every interaction and reinforcing credibility, trust, and persuasive impact. Commit to daily awareness and practice. Observe, adjust, and integrate posture, breath, and eye contact in all interactions. Over time, these habits reinforce internal stability, project authority, and enhance the effectiveness of communication. Presence is not a single skill, but the coordinated result of disciplined physical, mental, and relational practice, shaping perception, influence, and personal power. Chapter 14. Manage conflict calmly by asserting boundaries and proposing solutions. Managing conflict calmly requires a combination of self-control, clarity, and deliberate action. Conflict is a natural part of human interaction, and responding impulsively often escalates tension rather than resolves it. Calm management involves understanding the situation, maintaining emotional composure, asserting clear boundaries, and presenting constructive solutions that move the interaction toward resolution. These skills are not innate. They are developed through practice, reflection, and intentional habit formation. Start by assessing the situation objectively. Identify the source of the conflict, the parties involved, and the underlying needs or interests driving the disagreement. Separating facts from emotions is essential to respond with clarity rather than reaction. Observing calmly allows you to understand patterns, anticipate reactions, and prepare a strategy that addresses the real issues rather than surface-level symptoms. Emotional regulation is critical during conflict. Strong emotions like anger, frustration, or fear often distort perception and communication. Practicing controlled breathing, mental grounding, and measured responses ensures composure. Calmness signals credibility and authority, reducing defensive reactions in others and creating space for rational dialogue. A steady tone and unhurried pacing communicate confidence and seriousness without aggression. Asserting boundaries is a cornerstone of conflict management. Clearly articulate what is acceptable and what is not without hostility or judgment. Boundaries define limits of behavior, communication, and expectations, establishing a framework for constructive engagement. Using I statements rather than accusatory language prevents defensiveness and fosters clarity. For example, stating, "I need time to review this before responding," is more effective than blaming or criticizing others. Proposing solutions shifts the focus from problem to action. Present options that address the concerns of all parties involved, demonstrating respect and collaboration. Solutions should be realistic, fair, and grounded in the facts of the situation. Offering multiple paths forward empowers others to participate in resolution and reduces resistance. A solution-oriented approach transforms conflict from confrontation into an opportunity for progress. Active listening enhances conflict management. Pay close attention to verbal and nonverbal cues, demonstrating empathy and understanding. Reflect back what you hear to confirm comprehension and signal that you value the other person's perspective. Listening fully before responding prevents misunderstandings and identifies areas where compromise or clarification is needed. Presence in listening strengthens authority and builds trust, even in tense situations. Language is a tool for calm resolution. Avoid inflammatory words, sarcasm, or blame. Choose terms that describe behaviors and impacts rather than character judgments. Clear, neutral, and assertive language communicates seriousness without provoking escalation. Precision in wording prevents misinterpretation and facilitates rational problem-solving. Timing influences conflict outcomes. Address issues promptly before resentment or confusion grows, but avoid reacting in the heat of heightened emotion. Deliberate pauses allow for reflection, perspective, and formulation of measured responses. Choosing the right moment demonstrates control, patience, and awareness, increasing the likelihood of constructive engagement. Seek common ground, identify areas of agreement or shared interest to anchor the conversation. Highlighting mutual objectives reduces perceived opposition and establishes a collaborative tone. Conflict is often intensified by focusing solely on differences. Emphasizing shared goals fosters cooperation and supports solution-oriented discussion. Maintain focus on the issue rather than individuals. Avoid personal attacks or attributing motives without evidence. Keeping attention on facts, processes, and outcomes ensures that the conflict remains professional and resolvable. Distinguishing behavior from character allows accountability without escalating tension or damaging relationships. Preparation strengthens effectiveness in conflict. Anticipate likely objections, questions, or emotional responses. Develop potential solutions and practice assertive, calm delivery. Preparation increases confidence, reduces reactionary responses, and enables clearer communication of boundaries and solutions. Being ready enhances perception of competence and reduces opportunities for escalation. Flexibility is important alongside firmness. While boundaries and principles must be maintained, remain open to alternative approaches and creative solutions. Rigidity can prolong conflict or provoke resistance, whereas adaptable thinking encourages collaboration and problem-solving. Effective conflict management balances steadfastness with openness. Reflection after conflict consolidates learning. Review what occurred, how emotions were managed, the effectiveness of boundaries, and the outcomes of solutions proposed. Analyze what strategies were successful and where improvements are needed. Reflection reinforces skill development, awareness, and resilience, ensuring better performance in future situations. Practice is essential. Apply these skills in everyday disagreements, minor disputes, or structured negotiations. Daily reinforcement strengthens emotional regulation, clarity, and problem-solving ability. Incremental exposure to conflict situations builds competence, confidence, and composure over time. Stoic principles guide conflict management. Accept that others' actions are beyond control, focus on your own responses, and act in accordance with reason and integrity. Maintaining calm composure, asserting boundaries, and proposing rational solutions align with disciplined, principled conduct. Self-mastery, not control over others, is the foundation of effective conflict resolution. Non-verbal communication supports calm influence. Posture, gestures, and facial expressions should remain open and composed. Avoid crossing arms defensively or fidgeting, which signal tension or insecurity. Controlled physical presence reinforces verbal calmness, demonstrating confidence and attentiveness without aggression. Document key agreements and understandings when possible. Clear records reduce future misunderstandings and reinforce accountability. Writing down agreed upon solutions or expectations ensures clarity and supports sustained resolution, providing reference points for follow-up discussions. Long-term success in conflict management depends on consistency. Applying calm, clear, and solution-focused practices consistently builds credibility, trust, and authority. Individuals recognize reliability and are more likely to engage constructively when they anticipate measured and principled responses. Daily habits strengthen these skills. Set intentions to monitor emotions, articulate boundaries, and propose constructive solutions in interactions. Reflect on successes and challenges, adjusting approach as necessary. Over time, the ability to manage conflict calmly becomes instinctive rather than forced, supporting both personal and professional growth. Commit to practicing calm conflict management with assertive boundaries and proactive solutions. Focus on observation, preparation, emotional regulation, and solution orientation. Over time, consistent application of these principles ensures disputes are addressed rationally, relationships are preserved, and influence is strengthened through integrity, clarity, and measured action. Chapter 15. Construct compelling arguments using logic examples and credible evidence. Constructing compelling arguments is a skill that combines clarity, reasoning, and evidence to influence thought and inspire action. Arguments are persuasive when they are logical, supported by concrete examples, and backed by credible evidence. This skill is essential in both professional and personal interactions because it allows ideas to be communicated effectively, decisions to be guided, and understanding to be established. Mastery requires deliberate practice, attention to structure, and careful evaluation of the information presented. Begin with a clear understanding of your objective. Every argument should have a specific purpose: to convince, clarify, or inform. Identify the outcome you seek and the audience you are addressing. Knowing what you intend to achieve allows you to select relevant facts, examples, and evidence, which strengthens your case. Clarity of intention is the foundation of all compelling arguments. Logical structure is essential. Start with a clear statement of the claim or position. Follow with supporting points that are organized in a coherent sequence. Each point should build on the previous one and flow naturally toward the conclusion. Logical progression ensures the audience can follow reasoning without confusion. Disorganized arguments undermine credibility regardless of the quality of the information provided. Use examples to illustrate abstract concepts. Concrete examples make arguments relatable and easier to understand. Real-world scenarios, case studies, and practical applications demonstrate how ideas function in context. Examples bridge the gap between theory and reality, allowing listeners to visualize outcomes and relate information to their own experiences. Carefully chosen examples strengthen impact and resonance. Credible evidence is critical for persuasion. Facts, statistics, research findings, and authoritative sources increase trust in the argument. Avoid unreliable sources or anecdotal claims that cannot be verified. Evidence should be relevant, up-to-date, and directly support the point being made. Credibility in sourcing reinforces both the argument and your authority as a communicator. anticipate counter-arguments, identify potential objections, and address them proactively within your argument. Acknowledging differing perspectives demonstrates awareness, fairness, and critical thinking. Refuting counterpoints with reasoned analysis and evidence strengthens persuasion and signals competence. Consider the audience's likely concerns and integrate responses seamlessly to maintain flow and credibility. Clarity of language enhances argument effectiveness. Avoid jargon, excessive complexity, or vague phrasing that may confuse or alienate the audience. Simple, precise, and direct language communicates authority and allows the reasoning to shine. Each sentence should contribute to building the argument, eliminating filler or unrelated information that dilutes impact. Highlight cause and effect relationships, demonstrating how one action leads to another reinforces logical reasoning and strengthens persuasiveness. Use sequences that clearly show consequences, benefits, or risks associated with decisions. Explaining relationships systematically ensures the audience can follow reasoning and understand the implications of adopting your position. Organize supporting points strategically. Lead with the strongest evidence or example to capture attention, then expand with additional support. Closing with a particularly compelling point or summary reinforces the argument and leaves a lasting impression. Strategic arrangement enhances retention and ensures key ideas resonate. Maintain confident delivery, tone, pacing, and body language reinforce logical and factual content. Speak clearly, steadily, and with intentional emphasis on critical points. Confidence signals authority and convinces the audience that the argument is well-founded. Calm composure allows listeners to focus on content rather than distraction from uncertainty or hesitation. Use analogies and comparisons sparingly to clarify complex ideas. Thoughtful analogies illustrate relationships or mechanisms, making abstract reasoning more tangible. Avoid over-reliance on metaphor, as this can obscure facts or weaken credibility. Analogies should complement, not replace, logical reasoning and evidence. Practice active listening when presenting arguments. Observing reactions, questions, and hesitations allows real-time adjustments, clarifying misunderstandings, reinforcing key points, and addressing concerns strengthens persuasiveness. Interaction enhances credibility and ensures the argument responds effectively to the audience's needs. Integrate storytelling when appropriate. Framing evidence within a narrative provides context, emotional engagement, and relatability. Stories can demonstrate application, highlight consequences, and humanize abstract concepts. Effective storytelling, combined with logical reasoning and evidence, amplifies impact without diminishing credibility. Balance assertiveness with openness. Present arguments confidently while remaining receptive to dialogue and feedback. Overly rigid presentation may alienate the audience, while excessive tentativeness undermines authority. Persuasive arguments require firmness in reasoning combined with adaptability in interaction. Reflect on the strengths and weaknesses of arguments after each presentation. Evaluate which points resonated, which evidence was most compelling, and which examples were most relatable. Assessing effectiveness promotes refinement, strengthens skills, and builds intuition for future argumentation. Daily practice sharpens skill. Engage in exercises such as explaining a position to a peer, writing structured arguments, or analyzing debates and presentations. Focus on clarity, evidence, and logical flow. Repeated practice internalizes methods, improves confidence, and enhances natural ability to persuade with reasoning. Maintain ethical integrity. Construct arguments based on truth, accuracy, and fairness, rather than exaggeration, manipulation, or misrepresentation. Ethical persuasion builds lasting credibility and strengthens relationships, while dishonesty erodes trust and influence. Authority is reinforced when arguments are principled as well as compelling. Use questions strategically within arguments, pose queries that guide thinking, invite reflection, or highlight gaps in alternative positions. Persuasive questions engage the audience actively, prompting critical assessment and deeper consideration of your points. Skillful questioning enhances receptivity and encourages alignment with reasoning. Visual aids and structured presentation tools can enhance arguments. Charts, graphs, or diagrams clarify evidence, demonstrate trends, and reinforce key points. Visual representation complements verbal reasoning and appeals to diverse cognitive styles. Ensure all aids are relevant, accurate, and seamlessly integrated. Confidence in argumentation comes from preparation and familiarity with content research. Organize and rehearse evidence, examples, and logical sequences. Anticipate questions and objections. Preparedness minimizes hesitation, reduces errors, and communicates authority, increasing the likelihood of persuasion. Constructing compelling arguments is an integrated process of deliberate planning, logical reasoning, illustrative examples, and credible evidence. Combined with strategic delivery, attentive listening, ethical integrity, and reflection, these elements create communication that is persuasive, credible, and influential across any setting. Mastery develops over time through consistent practice, reflection, and a commitment to clarity, accuracy, and audience-centered reasoning. Chapter 16. Expand influence network by offering value support and follow-up. Expanding your influence network is a deliberate process that requires intention, consistency, and genuine contribution. Influence is not measured solely by the number of connections, but by the depth of trust, respect, and reciprocity you cultivate. A strong network grows when people perceive you as valuable, reliable, and supportive. To expand influence effectively, focus on offering tangible value, providing meaningful support, and following up consistently to maintain engagement and strengthen relationships. Begin by identifying key individuals and groups who align with your goals, values, or areas of expertise. Understand what matters to them, what challenges they face, and where your abilities can create meaningful impact. Influence grows when interactions are mutually beneficial, addressing real needs rather than superficial introductions or networking for appearance's sake. Being intentional about where and with whom you invest your energy ensures that your efforts generate lasting connections. Offering value requires understanding what others truly need and delivering it without expectation of immediate return. Share insights, advice, or resources that are directly relevant to their priorities. Providing actionable information, guidance, or support demonstrates competence and attentiveness. Value can take many forms: practical help, intellectual input, emotional support, or connections to other relevant resources. Consistently delivering meaningful contributions establishes credibility and positions you as someone people seek out for guidance and collaboration. Support extends beyond initial interactions. Respond promptly to requests, offer encouragement during challenges, and celebrate others' successes. Support signals investment in the relationship and strengthens trust. When individuals perceive you as dependable and proactive in helping them achieve their goals, they are more likely to listen to your ideas, involve you in opportunities, and advocate for you within their own networks. Supportive behavior reinforces mutual respect and deepens engagement over time. Follow-up is essential for sustaining influence. Connections are not static. Relationships require ongoing attention and reinforcement. After offering help, check in to see how outcomes are progressing. A brief message, a phone call, or a personal note demonstrates that you value the connection and remain invested. Following up consistently ensures relationships do not fade, keeps communication channels open, and creates opportunities for further collaboration. Active listening enhances both value and support. Paying attention to verbal cues, concerns, and goals allows you to respond thoughtfully and offer assistance that aligns with actual needs. Listening carefully prevents missteps, ensures interventions are meaningful, and strengthens perceived reliability. Influence is strengthened when people recognize that their perspectives are heard and acted upon. Leverage your unique strengths to provide distinctive value. Identify your skills, knowledge, and experiences that are particularly useful to others and apply them strategically. This positions you as a resource that complements rather than duplicates others' efforts. Being known for unique contributions enhances memorability, trust, and authority. Within your network, engage in reciprocal relationships while maintaining generosity. Influence grows through mutual exchange, but giving without expectation strengthens credibility more than transactional interactions. Offering assistance first, demonstrating competence, and creating positive outcomes encourages reciprocity naturally. People are more inclined to support those who consistently provide tangible value and demonstrate reliability. Consistency reinforces trust and reliability. Regularly contribute insights, participate in discussions, and remain present in relevant spaces. Inconsistent engagement can diminish credibility, whereas sustained presence signals commitment and dependability. Influence expands most effectively when your contributions are predictable in quality, relevance, and reliability. Tailor engagement to individual preferences. Some people respond to direct guidance, others to collaborative brainstorming, while some value informational resources. Understanding communication style, preferred interaction frequency, and interest areas enhances the effectiveness of your influence. Personalized engagement ensures that your support is perceived as thoughtful and impactful, rather than generic or perfunctory. Document and track interactions to enhance follow. Maintain notes on conversations, needs, and progress for each contact. This allows precise and timely engagement, demonstrates attentiveness, and ensures continuity over time. Recording interactions also identifies patterns where you can provide added value or anticipate needs before they arise, reinforcing proactive influence. Leverage opportunities to connect people within your network. Facilitating introductions, recommending collaborators, or sharing insights between contacts amplifies your value exponentially. Acting as a connector strengthens your reputation as someone who elevates others and enhances your influence indirectly through the success of others. Participate in forums, events, and communities relevant to your objectives. Presence in shared spaces allows for observation, contribution, and relationship building. Engage actively by sharing insights, asking thoughtful questions, and supporting others' ideas. Visibility combined with value creation naturally attracts meaningful connections and expands your sphere of influence. Maintain authenticity in all interactions. Influence rooted in manipulation, exaggeration, or false pretenses is fragile and often short-lived. Demonstrate genuine interest, competence, and integrity consistently. Authenticity encourages trust, promotes lasting engagement, and creates a reputation that draws people toward collaboration and respect. Practice patience and persistence. Influence grows gradually. Immediate results are rare. Consistent provision of value, support, and follow-up builds a reputation over time. Relationships that develop steadily are more resilient, deeper, and mutually beneficial than those formed through quick, superficial interactions. Use feedback to improve interactions. Solicit input on how your contributions are received. Adjust your approach when necessary, and remain open to learning. Feedback allows refinement of value offerings, communication style, and engagement methods. Responsiveness to feedback signals, humility, adaptability, and attentiveness. Qualities that enhance influence. Balance breadth and depth in network expansion. Develop relationships across diverse domains to access broader opportunities, but invest enough attention to ensure depth and trust. Superficial connections alone provide limited influence. Meaningful relationships reinforce authority, credibility, and collaboration potential. Focus on depth where mutual impact is highest. Recognize and celebrate achievements within your network. Publicly acknowledging others' contributions reinforces positivity, builds goodwill, and strengthens loyalty. Appreciation signals attentiveness, respect, and investment in the success of others. Recognition fosters a culture of support and encourages reciprocity. Integrate digital tools strategically. Online platforms, social media, and professional networks provide scalable opportunities for engagement, sharing value, and maintaining follow-up. Use these channels thoughtfully to supplement in-person interactions without replacing the authenticity and attention required for deeper relationships. Commit to continuous development of your influence network. Regularly evaluate connections, identify areas for added value, and seek new opportunities for engagement. Expanding influence is a dynamic, ongoing process, requiring awareness, effort, and principled action. Through consistent provision of value, meaningful support, and diligent follow-up, your network grows in depth, reach, and impact, establishing a foundation of trust, credibility, and long-term collaboration. Chapter 17. Maintain growth mindset by seeking feedback, learning, and adapting. Maintaining a growth mindset is a conscious commitment to continual improvement, learning, and adaptation throughout life. It requires embracing challenges, seeking feedback, and viewing setbacks as opportunities rather than obstacles. Individuals with a growth mindset understand that abilities and intelligence are not fixed. They can expand through effort, persistence, and reflection. This perspective transforms how we approach work, relationships, and personal development, creating a framework for sustained progress and resilience. Begin by cultivating awareness of current thinking patterns. Recognize when self-limiting beliefs, fear of failure, or fixed assumptions influence decisions and behavior. Awareness allows intentional intervention, shifting from reactive or rigid responses to flexible and solution-oriented approaches. Observing thoughts and attitudes without judgment provides clarity on where growth is possible and what habits require adjustment. Feedback is a critical tool for development. Actively seek input from mentors, colleagues, peers, and even those you supervise. Constructive feedback illuminates blind spots, reinforces strengths, and highlights areas for improvement. Accept feedback with openness rather than defensiveness, understanding that insight from others accelerates learning and prevents stagnation. The willingness to receive guidance demonstrates humility and commitment to personal growth. Learning is an ongoing process that extends beyond formal education. Engage in reading, workshops, podcasts, and practical experiences that expand knowledge and skill sets. Exposure to diverse perspectives, new techniques, and innovative ideas fuels mental flexibility and problem-solving ability. Applying what is learned ensures that knowledge becomes actionable, reinforcing competence and confidence in daily life. Adaptation requires experimentation and reflection. Test new approaches, strategies, or behaviors, observe the outcomes, and adjust accordingly. Flexibility allows for responsiveness to changing circumstances and evolving goals. Individuals who adapt effectively navigate uncertainty with resilience, maintaining progress even when initial efforts do not produce desired results. Each adjustment is an opportunity to refine skills and reinforce growth. Challenges and failures are essential components of a growth mindset. Rather than viewing mistakes as proof of inadequacy, analyze them as data points that reveal where improvement is needed. Examine what went wrong, why it occurred, and how future actions can be modified to achieve better outcomes. Embracing failure as feedback rather than threat strengthens resilience, problem-solving capacity, and confidence in tackling complex tasks. Self-reflection consolidates learning and adaptation. Regularly review decisions, actions, and results to identify patterns, strengths, and areas requiring adjustment. Reflection bridges experience and insight, transforming isolated events into actionable knowledge. Journaling, discussion with trusted advisors, or structured review sessions provide mechanisms to process experiences thoroughly and deliberately. Goal setting supports sustained growth. Define objectives that are challenging yet attainable, and break them into incremental steps. Each goal offers opportunities to practice new skills, seek feedback, and adjust approaches. Clear objectives provide direction, focus energy, and measure progress, creating a framework for continuous learning and development. Maintain curiosity as a driving force. Ask questions, explore new ideas, and challenge assumptions. Curiosity stimulates creative thinking, broadens perspectives, and uncovers opportunities for improvement. A mindset focused on discovery fosters enthusiasm for learning and encourages experimentation without fear of judgment. Practice resilience by managing emotional responses to setbacks. Recognize that frustration, disappointment, or doubt are natural reactions, but need not dictate behavior. Develop coping strategies such as deep breathing, mental reframing, or seeking guidance to maintain composure. Emotional resilience supports clear thinking and proactive adjustment, reinforcing growth in both skill and character. Collaboration enhances growth mindset development. Engage with individuals who offer differing experiences, expertise, and perspectives. Collaborative problem solving, brainstorming, and constructive debate expose blind spots and encourage creative approaches. Sharing knowledge while remaining receptive to others. Insights accelerates learning and strengthens relationships built on mutual respect and growth. Incremental progress is more sustainable than seeking rapid transformation. Focus on daily improvements, consistent effort, and repetition. Small achievements accumulate over time, reinforcing motivation, confidence, and skill acquisition. Celebrating incremental successes encourages persistence and maintains enthusiasm for long-term growth. Self-assessment tools can aid reflection and measurement of progress. Use structured frameworks to evaluate competencies, habits, and behaviors. Assessments highlight areas where targeted development is needed and provide benchmarks to track improvement. Quantifiable feedback complements subjective reflection, ensuring a comprehensive understanding of growth trajectory. Embrace adaptability in thought and action. Avoid rigid adherence to outdated methods or beliefs. Openness to alternative approaches and willingness to revise strategies enhances problem-solving effectiveness and responsiveness. To emerging challenges, flexible thinking allows continuous refinement and optimization of personal and professional performance. Consistency reinforces growth. Commit to habitual practices that strengthen learning, reflection, and adaptation. Regularly dedicating time to skill building, self-assessment, and exploration ensures sustained momentum. Consistent application of growth-oriented habits solidifies mindset, creating automatic tendencies toward improvement and resilience. Mentorship amplifies development. Seek guidance from experienced individuals who can provide perspective, challenge assumptions, and offer practical strategies. Learning from mentors accelerates skill acquisition, enhances decision-making, and provides models for emulation. Actively applying insights gained through mentorship transforms knowledge into actionable growth. Documenting experiences enhances insight. Recording challenges faced, feedback received, solutions attempted, and outcomes achieved provides a reference for ongoing improvement. Written records facilitate pattern recognition, evaluation of strategies, and identification of successful practices. Documentation ensures that learning is preserved and systematically applied over time. Reflection on personal values and principles strengthens motivation for growth. Aligning efforts with what is meaningful increases engagement, commitment, and satisfaction. Understanding why development matters provides clarity, drives persistence, and reinforces the integration of learning into broader life objectives. Openness to change is central to a growth mindset. Embrace uncertainty as an opportunity rather than a threat. Approach new experiences with willingness, curiosity, and flexibility. Change fosters exposure to diverse challenges, expands capabilities, and strengthens confidence in navigating unfamiliar situations. Daily habits reinforce mindset maintenance. Allocate time for reading, practice, reflection, feedback solicitation, and skill application. Repetition establishes routines that internalize growth-oriented behaviors, creating automatic patterns of inquiry, evaluation, and adaptation. Daily consistency transforms abstract concepts into lived practice. A growth mindset thrives on accountability. Set expectations for personal performance, track progress, and hold oneself responsible for implementation. Accountability ensures that learning translates into action, maintaining momentum and integrity. Regular evaluation reinforces discipline, focus, and continued adaptation. In conclusion, maintaining a growth mindset requires intentional effort to seek feedback, engage in continuous learning, and adapt to new insights. It is a dynamic process that combines reflection, experimentation, persistence, and openness to change. By embracing challenges, learning from setbacks, and applying insights proactively, individuals cultivate resilience, enhance skills, and sustain meaningful progress throughout life. This mindset transforms obstacles into opportunities, limitations into growth, and potential into measurable achievement. Chapter 18. Clarify your core message and repeat it with consistency. Clarifying your core message and repeating it consistently is a fundamental practice for establishing authority, influence, and clarity in communication. Every individual and organization has a central idea or principle that defines their purpose, values, and vision. Communicating this message effectively ensures that others understand your intentions, align with your objectives, and trust your guidance. Consistency reinforces credibility, builds recognition, and strengthens the impact of your words over time. The first step is identifying your core message. This requires reflection on your values, goals, and the purpose behind your communication. Ask yourself what you want others to understand, remember, and act upon. A clear core message is concise, focused, and specific. Avoid diluting it with multiple unrelated points or ambiguous language. The more precise your central idea, the easier it is for others to grasp and internalize. Once the message is defined, simplify it into a statement that is easily repeatable. Use language that is clear, direct, and memorable. Avoid jargon, complex phrasing, or unnecessary detail that may confuse the audience. The message should be simple enough to recall instantly, but strong enough to convey significance and intent. A concise statement increases retention and makes repetition natural rather than forced. Repetition is critical for reinforcing the core message, communicated across multiple contexts, platforms, and interactions. Whether speaking, writing, or presenting, consistently return to the central idea. Repetition does not mean robotic repetition, but integrating the message naturally into conversations, presentations, and written communication. Consistent reinforcement ensures that your audience internalizes the concept and associates it with your authority and expertise. Contextualize your message to enhance relevance. Adapt phrasing slightly depending on the audience without changing the essence. Align the message with the audience's interests, needs, and understanding to ensure it resonates. A core message gains traction when it connects to tangible experiences or addresses pressing concerns. Customizing context enhances comprehension while maintaining consistency of the principle. Use storytelling to embed the core message in memorable ways. Narratives illustrate the meaning and application of your idea, making it tangible and relatable. Stories can showcase successes, lessons learned, or practical applications of the core principle. Embedding the message within examples strengthens retention and emotional connection, encouraging the audience to internalize and act on it. Visual reinforcement strengthens clarity. Use graphics, diagrams, or symbols that reflect the central idea. Visual cues create instant recognition and support comprehension. Repeated exposure to consistent visual representations alongside verbal or written statements reinforces understanding and helps the message become intuitive for the audience. Anchor your communication around benefits and outcomes. Explain why the message matters and what impact it can have. Demonstrating tangible results encourages attention, retention, and alignment. Audiences are more likely to remember and adopt a principle when they understand its relevance to their goals, challenges, or well-being. Linking the core idea to outcomes enhances credibility and motivates engagement. Monitor and adjust delivery to maintain effectiveness. Pay attention to audience reactions, feedback, and engagement. Observe whether the message is being understood and remembered. Adjust wording, examples, or emphasis as needed, while preserving the essence of the core message. Responsiveness ensures that communication remains clear, compelling, and relevant. Consistency extends to nonverbal communication. Tone of voice, posture, and body language should reinforce the authority and intent of the message. Mixed signals can undermine credibility and reduce clarity. Align verbal statements with confident gestures, measured pacing, and purposeful emphasis to strengthen perception of reliability and conviction. Integrate the message into multiple formats. Include it in presentations, emails, social media posts, meetings, and written materials. Broad dissemination increases exposure and reinforces recognition across various contexts. Consistency across mediums ensures that the message is not fragmented, preventing confusion and strengthening overall influence. Practice concise expression of the core idea. Avoid over-explaining or adding unnecessary detail that distracts from the main point. The ability to communicate the principle in 1 or 2 sentences ensures clarity and memorability. Conciseness demonstrates mastery of the concept and conveys authority to the audience. Use repetition to shape perception. Repeating the message consistently establishes a mental association between the concept and your authority. People begin to identify your presence with the principle, reinforcing credibility and trust. Habitual reinforcement embeds the idea in the audience's consciousness, making it more likely to guide understanding and action. Seek feedback. To evaluate clarity, ask colleagues, mentors, or peers if they can summarize the message in their own words. Understanding how well others grasp the idea reveals strengths and areas for refinement. Feedback-driven adjustment ensures that the core message is truly comprehensible, memorable, and impactful. Anchor the message with evidence and examples. Demonstrate through facts, results, or case studies why the principle is valid and effective. Evidence supports credibility and enhances persuasiveness, ensuring that repeated statements carry weight rather than appearing empty or superficial. Logical reinforcement paired with repetition deepens understanding. Build habits around reinforcing the core message. Set daily or weekly practices that integrate repetition naturally into communication routines. For example, opening meetings with a statement of the principle or closing discussions with a reminder embeds consistency into habitual interactions. Habitual reinforcement ensures long-term retention and influence. Avoid conflicting statements that dilute clarity. Ensure that all communications align with the core message. Mixed messages confuse audiences and undermine authority. Regular review of communications to maintain alignment preserves trust, clarity, and the integrity of your influence. Leverage analogies and relatable comparisons to clarify complex aspects of the message. Chosen examples bridge abstract principles and practical understanding. Analogies should simplify without altering the essence of the message. This technique reinforces comprehension and retention while keeping communication accessible and engaging. Track impact over time. Observe whether repeated communication leads to increased understanding, alignment, or behavioral change in your audience. Metrics of influence, engagement, or feedback provide tangible indicators of the effectiveness of your repetition strategy. Regular evaluation informs adjustments that maintain clarity and strengthen outcomes. Commit to long-term consistency. The power of a core message grows as it is reiterated over weeks, months, and years. Continual reinforcement transforms understanding into belief and belief into action. Influence is magnified when repetition and clarity are sustained, embedding the principle firmly in the audience's perception. Clarifying a core message and repeating it consistently is a disciplined approach that combines precision, repetition, relevance, and reinforcement. It ensures that your ideas are understood, remembered, and acted upon by aligning language, delivery, evidence, and engagement around a central principle. You create clarity, authority, and lasting influence. Over time, consistent emphasis solidifies understanding, strengthens credibility, and positions the communicator as a trusted source of guidance and insight. Chapter 19. Inspire action by giving clear steps, examples, and timelines. Inspiring action requires more than motivation alone. It demands clarity, structure, and direction that guides people toward tangible outcomes. Clear steps, concrete examples, and realistic timelines transform abstract intentions into actionable behavior. Without these elements, even the most compelling ideas can remain dormant, and potential is left unrealized. Providing structure empowers individuals to move from thought to execution, creating measurable progress and reinforcing confidence in their capabilities. Begin by defining the desired outcome with precision. Specify exactly what action needs to be taken and why it is important. Ambiguity reduces engagement, while clarity creates focus. Clearly articulated goals provide a roadmap for decision-making, ensuring that each step contributes meaningfully to the intended result. When people understand both the what and the why, they are more likely to commit fully to the process. Break the action into sequential steps. Identify each component required to achieve the goal and arrange them logically. Steps should be manageable, achievable, and clearly delineated. Overly complex instructions can overwhelm, while overly broad directives can leave individuals unsure where to start. Step-by-step guidance simplifies execution and builds momentum as each task is completed successfully. Provide concrete examples to illustrate the process. Examples demonstrate how actions are applied in real-world contexts, making abstract concepts tangible. Show how someone has succeeded using the steps you recommend, or provide hypothetical scenarios that clarify execution. Examples serve as models that the audience can replicate or adapt, increasing confidence and reducing hesitation. Include timelines to guide pacing and maintain accountability. Deadlines create structure, focus attention, and encourage consistent progress. Short-term milestones reinforce achievement and motivation, while longer-term deadlines maintain direction toward the ultimate objective. Timelines help individuals manage priorities, measure progress, and adjust efforts when necessary to stay on course. Communicate instructions with simplicity and precision. Avoid ambiguity, jargon, or unnecessary complexity. Use direct language that leaves no room for misinterpretation. Each step should be actionable and immediately understandable. Clear communication reduces errors, accelerates adoption, and ensures that guidance is followed effectively. Anticipate obstacles and provide strategies to overcome them. Identify common challenges that may arise during execution and suggest solutions or preventive measures. Preparing individuals for difficulties reduces uncertainty and encourages persistence. Offering practical guidance to navigate hurdles increases the likelihood of consistent action and successful outcomes. Demonstrate the benefits of completing each step. People are motivated when they see tangible results from their efforts. Highlight how progress on individual tasks contributes to the larger goal, reinforcing purpose and accountability. Connecting actions to outcomes strengthens engagement and encourages follow-through. Encourage accountability through checkpoints or review points. Periodic assessments of progress allow individuals to evaluate their performance, make adjustments, and stay aligned with the overall goal. Accountability fosters responsibility, maintains momentum, and reinforces the importance of completing each step as outlined. Use visual aids to enhance understanding. Flowcharts, diagrams, or checklists can clarify sequences, dependencies, and priorities. Visual representations complement verbal or written instructions, providing a reference that reduces confusion and reinforces adherence to the plan. Visual tools help individuals organize actions, track progress, and maintain focus on the intended outcome. Provide reinforcement and encouragement along the process. Recognize achievements as steps are completed, highlighting progress to sustain motivation. Positive reinforcement strengthens confidence, validates effort, and increases commitment to continued action. Regular acknowledgement encourages persistence and emphasizes that each step has value in achieving the overall objective. Emphasize adaptability within the framework of action. While steps and timelines provide structure, flexibility allows for adjustments when unforeseen circumstances arise. Encourage problem-solving, critical thinking, and resourcefulness while maintaining alignment with the overall objective. Adaptable action ensures resilience and continued progress. Despite challenges, incorporate feedback mechanisms. Allow participants to ask questions, clarify uncertainties, and receive guidance on adjustments. It also demonstrates support, fosters engagement, and reinforces the process as dynamic and responsive rather than rigid or prescriptive. Encourage incremental progress rather than immediate perfection. Emphasize the importance of consistency, practice, and iterative improvement. Completing steps steadily builds confidence, competence, and momentum. Incremental achievement creates tangible evidence of progress, sustaining motivation and reinforcing the value of following structured guidance. Align examples with audience context. Choose scenarios that resonate with their experiences, environment, or goals. Relatable examples enhance comprehension, relevance, and the likelihood of implementation. When people see themselves reflected in examples, the steps feel achievable, practical, and worth pursuing. Highlight dependencies and critical priorities. Identify which steps must be completed before others to ensure smooth progression. Understanding relationships between tasks prevents wasted effort, maintains focus, and ensures that the overall objective is achieved efficiently. Prioritization enhances clarity and prevents confusion or misalignment in execution. Provide resources and tools to support action. This may include templates, guides, recommended materials, or references. Equipping individuals with practical tools reduces barriers, increases efficiency, and reinforces the feasibility of completing each step. Supportive resources ensure that instructions are not only clear, but also actionable in practice. Encourage reflection at intervals. After completing steps or milestones, prompt individuals to evaluate what worked, what could be improved, and what was learned. Reflection reinforces understanding, identifies areas for adjustment, and strengthens the ability to apply lessons to future tasks. Integrating reflection maintains a cycle of continuous improvement and growth. Communicate the overarching purpose behind each action. Reinforcing why steps matter maintains motivation, ensures alignment, and emphasizes significance. Understanding the connection between individual actions and broader objectives inspires commitment, enhances focus, and elevates the perceived value of effort. Integrate a balance of urgency and realism in timelines. Deadlines should challenge without overwhelming. Realistic pacing ensures that individuals can maintain consistent effort, prevent burnout, and achieve measurable progress. Urgency motivates while feasible timelines sustain engagement and reliability in action. Combine all elements into a cohesive system. Clear steps, concrete examples, timelines, feedback, and reinforcement work together to transform intention into execution. This structured approach creates clarity, reduces uncertainty, and inspires action. Following these principles consistently ensures that goals are not only understood but achieved, turning plans into results and potential into tangible accomplishments. Chapter 20. Sustain progress by tracking metrics, reflecting feelings, and concrete results. Sustaining progress requires a disciplined approach to tracking both measurable outcomes and personal experiences. Metrics provide clarity on achievements, reveal patterns, and guide future decisions, while awareness of feelings ensures that growth aligns with satisfaction, motivation, and well-being. Combining objective data with subjective insight creates a comprehensive system that supports continuous improvement and long-term success. Begin by defining what progress means in concrete terms. Identify the specific results you want to achieve and the milestones that indicate advancement. Metrics should be meaningful, measurable, and relevant to your goals, whether tracking productivity, skill development, financial gains, or behavioral change. Clarity in measurement establishes a foundation for sustained action. Simultaneously, monitor your emotional responses and feelings associated with progress. Awareness of motivation, satisfaction, frustration, and engagement provides insight into what drives persistence and what might hinder it. Emotions are signals that inform whether efforts are sustainable and aligned with personal values. Recognizing these cues allows adjustment of strategies to maintain momentum without sacrificing well-being. Develop a system to record both quantitative and qualitative data consistently. Create logs, journals, spreadsheets, or digital dashboards that capture achievements, completed tasks, and measurable outcomes, alongside reflections on feelings, energy levels, and satisfaction. Regular tracking ensures accountability and highlights trends that may otherwise go unnoticed. Set clear benchmarks for success. Benchmarks provide reference points that indicate whether efforts are producing desired results. They create a sense of accomplishment when achieved and reveal gaps where further focus is needed. Benchmarks should be challenging yet attainable to sustain motivation and encourage continuous effort. Regularly review collected metrics. Examine both the data and reflections to evaluate progress and identify areas for adjustment. Analyze patterns to understand which strategies are effective and which require modification. Review sessions ensure that effort remains purposeful. Decisions are evidence-based, and growth continues steadily over time. Incorporate feedback loops into tracking. Seek input from peers, mentors, or supervisors to complement self-assessment. External perspectives provide additional insight, helping to validate measurements, identify blind spots, and highlight opportunities for improvement. Feedback ensures a balanced evaluation of progress that includes both internal perception and external reality. Balance quantitative and qualitative tracking. Numbers, charts, and statistics reveal tangible outcomes, while reflective notes, mood assessments, and narrative descriptions reveal underlying experiences. Integrating both types of data provides a full picture of progress and ensures that success is not measured solely by results, but also by personal growth and satisfaction. Use tracking to identify trends over time. Observe how performance, behavior, and emotions evolve across weeks or months. Recognizing long-term patterns helps anticipate challenges, replicate successful strategies, and maintain consistency. Trend analysis turns raw data into actionable insight that informs decision-making and promotes sustainable development. Prioritize metrics that reflect core goals. Avoid tracking excessive or irrelevant data that can obscure focus and create unnecessary stress. Concentrate on measures that directly relate to your objectives and influence meaningful action. Focusing on essential indicators ensures that tracking supports progress rather than complicates it. Celebrate achievements and milestones. Recognizing progress reinforces motivation and commitment. Use metrics to identify accomplishments, acknowledge effort, and reward consistency. Celebrating successes, no matter how small, sustains engagement and strengthens belief in the value of disciplined tracking. Adjust strategies based on insights from metrics. When data indicates stagnation or decline, analyze the underlying causes and modify approaches accordingly. Adaptation ensures that progress continues despite obstacles, evolving circumstances, or changing goals. Tracking informs decision-making and enables proactive course correction. Incorporate visualization techniques to reinforce progress. Graphs, charts, and visual timelines make patterns and achievements immediately apparent. Visualization simplifies complex data, highlights key trends, and provides motivation by showing how far you have come. Visual representations support both planning and reflection. Link metrics to actionable steps. Data alone is insufficient. It must inform specific actions that advance objectives. Determine what behaviors, practices, or interventions can be adjusted based on insights. Connecting measurement to action ensures that tracking drives continuous improvement rather than passive observation. Track both effort and outcome. Recording the time, energy, and resources invested alongside achieved results highlights the relationship between input and return. Understanding this correlation helps refine strategies, optimize performance, and maintain sustainable effort. Effort metrics reinforce accountability and provide insight into efficiency. Maintain consistency in tracking. Regular, disciplined measurement ensures reliable data, facilitates pattern recognition, and reinforces habits. Sporadic tracking limits insight, reduces accountability, and undermines the ability to sustain progress. Establish daily, weekly, or monthly routines for recording metrics and reflections. Integrate self-assessment questions into tracking. Reflect on satisfaction, motivation, perceived challenges, and confidence. Evaluating these subjective experiences alongside objective outcomes ensures holistic understanding of progress and informs adjustments that maintain alignment with personal goals and values. Use metrics to predict and prevent setbacks. Data can reveal early warning signs such as declining performance, reduced engagement, or increased stress. Recognizing these signals allows proactive interventions to maintain momentum and prevent derailment. Predictive tracking enhances resilience and ensures continuity in progress. Share progress selectively with trusted individuals. Communicating achievements and challenges to mentors, peers, or accountability partners provides support, encouragement, and external perspective. Sharing progress strengthens commitment, generates feedback, and creates additional motivation to maintain forward movement. Integrate technology for efficient tracking. Digital tools, apps, and automated systems simplify data collection, analysis, and visualization. Technology enhances accuracy, reduces administrative burden, and allows real-time monitoring. Efficient tracking ensures that attention remains focused on action rather than record keeping. Reflect periodically on both results and feelings. Use reflections to assess alignment between measurable outcomes and personal experience. Determine whether progress supports satisfaction, motivation, and overall well-being. Reflection bridges the gap between data and personal growth, ensuring that progress is meaningful, sustainable, and aligned with core values. Commit to long-term tracking as a cornerstone of continuous improvement. Sustained progress depends on disciplined measurement, regular reflection, and iterative adjustment. By consistently tracking metrics that reflect both feelings and concrete results, individuals create a system that fosters accountability, clarity, and growth. This approach transforms effort into measurable achievement, reinforces motivation, and ensures that progress is maintained over time.